Chapter 955, An Eccentric Man. Chapter 955, An Eccentric Man _ Blood circulated in Yan's entire body while he silently floated inside a blue bubble. This was a marvelous world of colors. However, it didn't have a bit of earth and heaven energy besides the blue bubbles. Those bubbles emitted an immense blue light like some kind of barrier. Streamers moved around the place like rivers crossing the void. Blue bubbles filled every corner as if they were part of a vast sea. The bubbles had many sizes. The big ones were as massive as mountain ranges while the small ones were as large as fists. Yin was staying inside a bubble big enough to cover him entirely. Blue bubbles floated, slowly moving in a direction. Inside the bubble, Yin gradually healed his badly wounded god body. Under the magical effects of immortal demon blood, his broken bones and vessels grew and connected to each other. They had recovered at a speed that naked eyes could observe. This place didn't have a concept of time. Yin didn't know how long he had spent here before he woke up. His face changed immediately. He turned around, standing up inside the bubble. His face became incredibly severe. This was not where he should have arrived. There was no beam of earth and heaven energy. No sun, moon, or stars. Needless to say, a piece of land. This was a space crack. Yin was frightened. As he cultivated space power Upanishad, he understood well what the space crack meant. It was an absolutely deadly silent area. It didn't have energy or traces of human operations, other creatures, or flora. This place had only endless desolation. When Yin escaped Broken Starfield, he remembered clearly that he had built a space door which would reasonably lead to Agate Star Area, as he had this in mind at that time. It shouldn't be some space crack. After taking a deep breath, Yin sat down cross-legged. He put aside the anomaly of this place for a moment to check the changes of his god body. His eyes brightened. The wounded god body had completely recovered. Not only that, the essence chi ancient tree in his body was filled to the brim. His power had reached a new height. He immediately understood that his acupuncture points had absorbed and refined the energy, providing to his entire body and healing him. Besides, he received more benefits from that. At this moment, he was at second sky of original god realm with abundant energy and magical powers Upanishad. He should have been happy. However, his face was dispirited and reluctant. It was because he didn't know how to get out of this space crack. He didn't know how to get back to Agate Star Area. His soul consciousness was restricted in this area. He had no other magical sensibility but his eyes to observe the surroundings. Being baffled for a while, he silently circulated his energy, trying to break the blue bubble. Boom! The blue bubble, covering his body, burst off. A flow of chaotic space energy grumblingly flooded in like a tsunami, striking his body directly. A blood-red halo emerged, resisting the chaotic space energy. Yin had to consume his energy a lot to maintain the halo. His countenance changed. Yin looked at a blue bubble. His thoughts flickered and his body shot like a space saber into that bubble. The blue bubbles could resist turbulent space flow. Yin was safe taking shelter inside the bubble. Tens of thousands of blue bubbles were floating, moving slowly in the same direction. There was no star around, but the streamers moved swiftly. If he didn't have a tenacious body, he would have been broken easily. Yin didn't know what was going on around him. However, he was able to confirm one thing. The reason that he appeared there wasn't that he had aimed wrongly. Somebody had affected his space door, deviating him. Otherwise, he should have been in some area of Agate Star Area at this moment. Even though Yin had been cultivating space power Upanishad, he hadn't reached the level that he could move through the space cracks as he pleased. He couldn't find the door that opened to Agate Star Area. For the time being, he had a headache. He knew his operation in Broken Starfield would bring a disaster to the giant tribe and his friends in Old Orchid Star. He had planned to stop by a life star and activate the child formation of the mother and child sky linking formation. That way, we could evacuate his people in Old Orchid Star. Yin knew that he was rushing. If his friends in Old Orchid Star couldn't leave early, the natives of Old Orchid Star will receive a catastrophe. Yin was restless. Countless bubbles were floating and moving towards an unknown area. Yin didn't know when they would reach their destination and when he could find the way to return. He must have a solution quickly. With a dark face, he decided to use his energy to resist the chaotic space current. He started to jump through the bubbles, heading to where the bubbles were heading. As Yin understood the solution, he applied it immediately. He urged the energy around his body, making his god body twinkle with starlight. He broke his bubble and jumped to the nearest bubble. As soon as his god body left the bubble, the streamers immediately crossed over him. Attacks as potent as billions of tons of water pouring on the sky gave him a massive pressure. Each of his muscles was tense. He could feel pain in his brain too. He could enter the bubble, but he had to consume his energy. There were tens of thousands of bubble in front of him. With his energy, if he kept moving forward, he could only get through around 100 bubbles before draining all of his energy. He could only use divine crystals to restore. Yin knitted his brows tightly, hesitating. This place looked strange and unpredictable. He hadn't seen this the first time. He didn't know anything about this place. If he drained all of his energy, in case he encountered a danger, what would he do? But if he couldn't find a way out and kept floating in a bubble like this, how could his friends and old Orchid Star dodge this calamity? Taking a deep breath, Yin continued to use energy covering his body. He gritted his teeth, dashing forward. More than 10 blue bubbles passed him while he was moving like a shuttle. When he stopped inside a bubble to recharge his energy, he looked around to check his surroundings. There were so many blue bubbles ahead, behind, above, and beneath him. All of them were heading in the same direction, which he didn't know where it led. He didn't know what would be waiting in the other end neither. His face darkened, but his eyes were still bright, staring at something ahead of him. In front of him was a bubble as big as a rubber ball where a cluster of mist dwelled, which had soul energy fluctuations. Yin was perplexed. Hesitating for a while, he moved fast forwards. His god body forcefully resisted the space streamers, entering a bubble around 100 meters away from the bubble with soul energy. Inside that pocket-sized bubble, the gray mist slowly condensed into an ash-gray ancient face. It looked a bit blurry. Facing Yin, he seemed to furrow his brows, releasing his shaking soul energy. He didn't look pleased at all. Don't struggle. This place doesn't have earth and heaven energy. You can't regain what you've consumed. Better to save energy for the critical moments. Yin was baffled, asking, "Who are you?" He suddenly realized that the reason why he appeared here somehow related to this person. Indeed, the blurry soul snorted, speaking coldly. "I had to spend a lot of energy to bring you here. Behave. Don't use energy. Save as much as you can." "Who's the motherf asterisk cur that asked you to bring me here?" Yin's visage became cold. "I'd navigated and built the space door without a mistake. You interfered and brought me to this unknown space crack that I don't know how to get out of. What do you want?" "Kid, don't be ungrateful," snarled the soul. "Ordinary people can never get into this place. If I haven't consumed a lot of energy to drag you here, how could you have been here? Don't babble. Just wait there. I've got a plan for you." "I need to get back. Why did you bring me here? Please send me back," roared Yin. "Don't even think about it." The soul sneered coldly. "I've used a lot of energy to bring you here. How could I let you go easily? I'm telling you, if you don't help me, you should never dream about getting out of this place. I know you cultivate space power Upanishad, but without my direction, you can't use your power to get out of this place." Yin darkened his face. He kept silent. His eyes became garnet. Swish. A bunch of starlights shot out from his finger, tearing the bubble and aiming at his soul. Sizzle. Sizzle. The bunch of starlights that Yin shot out vanished quickly. It couldn't gather more energy. When it was about to enter the bubble, the energy in the light wasn't even more than 1/10 the required energy. The vague, ancient face snorted disdainfully. A beam of soul energy emerged. Space streamers gathered, attacking Yin's starlight. PFFFF. Yin's attack was shattered instantly, unable to be a threat to others. "Kid, don't waste your energy. I understand that this place is much better than you. As you have only second sky of original God realm, I wouldn't take you here if you could attack me." The old man grinned fiendishly. "Better to behave. If you help me with this, I will bring you back. I'll even give you a big gift too. If you keep that stupid thought in mind, you'll stay here for the rest of your life with me. I've been so lonely for several thousands of years. It's good that I have someone to talk to." "Who are you? What do you need me to help you with?" Shi Yin frowned, calming his mind. "You want me to work for you, right? At least you have to tell me my scope of work." "Mwahaha. When we get there, I'll tell you. For now, you just need to be content with your lot." The bodiless soul laughed eccentrically. "Don't worry. If you do your best to help me, I won't mistreat you. It's your good fortune that you can be here. You don't know how many warriors have tried to explore this place, but they never found the door. Kid, you're lucky." Chapter 956, Thorough Comprehension. Chapter 956, Thorough Comprehension _ Inside the mysterious space crack, Shi Yin couldn't figure out what the time was. He didn't know that time was flying fast. However, he knew that it must have been a long time already. His mood became heavier. He couldn't rest as he didn't want to stay cluelessly in this place without any idea on how to escape. "How long has it been?" Shi Yin asked the eccentric man with only a soul sometime in the bubble. That old freak had always been silent. Sometimes, Shi Yin thought that he would keep quiet for the rest of his life. If he didn't ask him, that eccentric old man would never notice him. Perhaps he got used to loneliness for hundreds or thousands of years. He had shut himself for a long time already. "How long?" The eccentric soul sighed. "I've been here for several thousand years. And for you? Oh, since I've dragged you here, it has been 3 years already. Short time. 3 years is just a blink of an eye. As we all pursue the truth of Powers Upanishad, 3 years is just a blink of an eye to us." He answered in a relaxed manner. However, his answer made Shi Yin discolor. His heart sank into the abyss. He looked at the old freak with resentment and rage. "You don't care about time, but I care?" Shi Yin screamed crazily in his mind. Suddenly, he realized that he could do nothing to Old Orchid Star in Far West region. Regardless of what happened to Old Orchid Star, he couldn't help. He couldn't give them any aid. 3 years was enough for Defong of Blood Halberd and Niger of the Ghost Mark clan to destroy Old Orchid Star. If they wanted to do anything, they should have it done by now. Shi Yin was deeply sorrowful and begrudging. He started to worry about his friends in Old Orchid Star. He didn't know whether the Yangs and the Shurs could avoid this calamity or not. He didn't know how many of them, the fellows he had endured many difficulties with to get them out of Grace Mainland, could survive this time. His eyes became brutal. He had a lot of deep resentments towards that old freak. If he hadn't interfered, Shi Yin could have reappeared in a corner of Agate Star area. He could have used the child formation to teleport people and materials of Old Orchid Star, avoiding the massacre from Blood Halberd and Niger. However, it was too late. The grudges he had caused would be repaid by people in Old Orchid Star. Taking a deep breath, he sat down quietly, his eyes chilled. If Old Orchid Star was destroyed when he got out of this place, he would definitely chase and kill anyone who had attacked Old Orchid Star to avenge his friends. As things had escalated to this point, he knew that it was just a waste of effort to think about Old Orchid Star. He decided to put his mind on figuring out how to get out of this damn place. He continued to ask the eccentric man about the purpose of this trip. He wanted to know what he should do. However, that freak had concealed everything. Every time he was asked, he just answered with, "I'll tell you when we get there." Shi Yin felt so aggrieved. After he got to know that he wouldn't get the real situation from that man, he didn't think about it any longer. Staying inside the blue bubble, he quieted down, circulating the soul altar to comprehend death and life power Upanishad. From the center of Broken Star Field, he had crossed the death and life bridge, which was the magical inheritance of the death and life embedded with great abilities of space power. The transparent handprints had disappeared into his god body, entering the tier of powers Upanishad in his soul altar. At this moment, he sent his soul to the tier of powers Upanishad to explore and comprehend the mighty mysteries of death and life power Upanishad. The powers Upanishad tier was divided into 3 distinct sections including space power Upanishad, Death and Life Power Upanishad, and Star Power Upanishad. These three powers Upanishad didn't have real entities, but there were energy fluctuations. When he didn't use the powers, those energy fluctuations would be tiny and almost unrecognizable. His soul flickered and his god body released the death and life intent domain, creating a small god domain. Deep inside the tier of powers Upanishad, the section of death and life suddenly had strange vibrations. It looked like an air-based movement, but it was actually just energy. Transparent handprints floated, moving in that section. They were the handprints that had entered his body. Those handprints weren't real, as they were just illusions created in his consciousness, which could only perceive through the soul. A transparent handprint could change frequently. It switched between death and life energy, as if it was projecting the life cycle of death and life. Rebirth. It seemed like he could see countless creatures, which appeared in that area in their soul form. Living in there for a while, they gradually lost their vitality, coming to the last phase of their lifespans. Eventually, they died. From birth to death, it was just a cycle of earth and heaven. It was the fundamental principle of the world that no force could change. However, it seemed that this cycle in his tier of power Upanishad was slowed down to last for eternity. He could see everything clearly. A creature was born. It thrived as its vitality surged before it gradually ceased. It seemed like any kind of living being would decay, bound to the chains of the mortal world. Those creatures didn't have real forms. Shi Yin just felt them. He could feel some of them die rapidly, and some of them knew how to gather and use energy to slow down their disappearance rate. Although they all vanished in the end, some lived longer than others. In that corner of power Upanishad, he could feel the changes of billions of lives. When a creature disappeared, its soul energy was emitted, returning to earth and heaven. Creatures' souls were also a kind of earth and heaven energy. They could be strong or weak, and all of them had to die and be reborn. He was just an onlooker. He didn't have the right to join all of these. He could only use his soul to sense quietly. He felt like he was watching a historical movie, looking at all kinds of creatures from the moment they were born to the last minute of their lives. However, he couldn't interfere. This was the essence of power Upanishad that Precursor had imparted to him. That expert seemed to have an unimaginable comprehension of death and life power Upanishad. He could use his power to project deaths of creatures in the world. Although Shi Yin also cultivated death and life power Upanishad, he hadn't reached such a level yet. He had a feeling that his precursor could join the life cycle of a creature from birth to death. He seemed to be able to control everything discreetly. Shi Yin's eyes brightened as he thought of one possibility. If that precursor could control creatures in their life or death, he could kill them or revive them as he pleased. What kind of existence was that? Could he create creatures? Shi Yin was frightened by these thoughts. Creating lives was the restricted area of life that he didn't dare to imagine. From the day he started to cultivate Powers Upanishad, he had been in Grace Mainland, Raging Flame Star area, and now Agate Star area. Wasn't it true that creatures were born by Mother Nature? Was there any existence that could create lives? If this existence did exist, has it used some kind of unknown, formidable power to create Shi Yin himself, the 10 great races in Grace Mainland, and the other peculiar races in Agate Star area, creating lives and different races? What kind of power was that? It was beyond his imagination. However, since he had observed the life cycle of different creatures in his tier of power Upanishad, he suddenly understood something. Creating creatures. It seems to be possible to warriors cultivating death and life power Upanishad. Shi Yin didn't know if that precursor had touched this restricted area of life or not. However, he had given him a direction. Shi Yin felt that as his precursor had comprehended the death and life power Upanishad to a profound level, he understood some restricted information that the other creatures in the world shouldn't know. He had searched for it, but Shi Yin didn't know whether or not he had succeeded. If he succeeded and got the power to create lives, would he be the mighty creator, the source of all creatures? Shi Yin was perplexed. The more Shi Yin understood the pure power Upanishad that Precursor had left to him, the more he recognized how tremendous it would be when he reached the acme of his power Upanishad. When a warrior cultivated his power Upanishad to the utmost, he could have the deepest understanding of earth and heaven mysteries. Shi Yin reviewed the other two powers Upanishad he had, space and star. If the death and life power Upanishad had reached to the utmost, it could create lives, races, and forcefully interfere with death and life. But what about space power Upanishad? Frowning, he mulled over this thought while his soul quietly seeped toward the section of space power Upanishad. He suddenly remembered that he was in a space crack. If the death and life power Upanishad could touch the deepest restricted areas, what would it be when space power Upanishad had reached the final line? A picture he had never dared to imagine was slowly revealed in his eyes. He seemed to see a whole new world where his vision and imagination were open to the infinite. Creating a new space, creating different spaces, these were the best powers he could have imagined. As soon as he had this thought, he became perplexed. Would he be able to create an entire star area and the endless universe inside the space crack he was in? Digging further, he linked the possibilities he had thought with star power Upanishad. Would the warriors also create those stars? As soon as he understood star power Upanishad and learned how a star was created and thrived, he was able to use energy to fabricate and then give it to the origin energy. Would he be able to create a planet that way? If he could add origin energy to that planet, he may also be able to create an ancient continent. His vision and perception of the world had entered a new level from this moment. His soul moved around the three sections of power Upanishads to search and comprehend. This was the first time he had tried to touch the deepest levels of his powers. There was no concept of time in the space crack. This time, he had studied his powers for a long time. It was too long that he almost forgot about himself. This lasted until the old freak called him. "Wake up, we're almost there." Shi Yin woke up. He looked as if his life form had been sublimated. At this moment, his aura and bearings were also different. Chapter 957, Three Souls. Chapter 957, Three Souls _ How long? After Shi Yin woke up, he immediately asked the most important question. How much time passed since I sunk into my cultivation? Not long. Just 11 years. The old freak grinned fiendishly. Kid, your innate endowment isn't bad. You can enter the deepest level of power Upanishad comprehension. It will help you a lot on your understanding of powers Upanishad. It will help you understand the origin of a power. Shi Yin became distressed, shutting himself out. It has been 11 years. To this monster who had lived tens of thousands of years, 11 years was just a moment. To Shi Yin, it was significant. The dust has already settled in Old Orchid Star, right? Shi Yin wore a sour face, sighing inaudibly. He hated himself. During this time, he had sunk into a magical intent domain, studying space, star, death, and life powers Upanishads. This kind of study wasn't an application of power, so it couldn't increase his realm significantly. It was like an exploration of the nature of powers and its beginning and ending. He could have his own explanation and unique understanding of the deepest level of his powers, which was the truth of powers Upanishad. To Shi Yin, it was still too early to comprehend the deepest meaning of his powers. However, if he recognized these things earlier, he wouldn't have lost himself on his path in the future. Straying from the path could have led to messing up his cultivation and the collapse of his soul altar in the end. He knew what he got. This kind of benefit couldn't be described with words. Unless he could touch it himself, he couldn't get a good grasp of it even though he had an excellent instructor. Are we almost there? Waking up from his thoughts, Shi Yin's eyes brightened as he mumbled to himself. Finally, we are here. We arrived early this time, the eccentric old man whispered. His face was more realistic now. His eyes looked complex and inexplicable. He seemed to sink in his memory, sighing weakly. He looked at Shi Yin and said, "Many years ago, I still had a god body and my soul altar wasn't broken. Sigh, I hope I could get what I want this time." As he said that, Shi Yin became stern. He sensed danger. This man had been surviving in space cracks for thousands of years. He used to have a god body. What happened to him? What had destroyed his god body and shattered his soul altar? In this space crack, although it had erosive streamers, which was a significant danger to the warriors, as long as they reached a certain level to condense the four-tiered soul altar, they could survive easily. Their soul altars wouldn't shatter. This man stayed in this space crack and had his soul altar smashed. He must have encountered some danger he couldn't withstand. What could it be? Will I have the same consequence as he did? Yan's mood got heavier. Tens of thousands of bubbles in his sight slowly moved forward. It was just what he could see with his limited vision. There were likely countless, similar bubbles in the areas that he couldn't see. Yan didn't know what those bubbles were or how many of them presented here. He didn't know where they were heading to either. However, he was sensitive enough to realize that those bubbles were speeding up. It looked like the closer they were to the destination, the force that attracted them got stronger and made them move faster. The other end where the bubbles were heading to should have some kind of energy, which was silently affecting and guiding all of these bubbles to gather at that point. While he was absorbed in his thoughts, the old freak suddenly frowned. He had a gleam of annoyance in his eyes. He cursed, "He's not died yet. Well, if you can survive here, why would I die?" Then, a cold voice arose from a distant area. Yan discolored slightly. This was the second time he heard someone else talking in this space crack. That voice was as cold as ice. It felt chilly, like icy mist shrouding his body, making him irritated. Right after that, he saw a bunch of cold light, which dragged along a big blue bubble and was moving fast towards him. That cold light was just a chunk of cold air. It was a soul of a warrior. However, it didn't generate facial features as it was just a congregated mass of cold air. Inside the blue bubble by that cold light was a woman. An Ice Clan woman. At first glance, Yan knew that this woman was from the Ice Clan of Agate Star area. They cultivated ice power Upanishad, so their physique was cold and quiet. They didn't look very different from humans aside from their snow-white skin. It seemed like they were ice skeletons, which made them extremely elegant, chilly, and distant. That woman looked to be around 20. She wore snow-white armor and a phoenix coronet. Her skin was the color of snow that outlined her exquisite, beautiful face. She was long-limbed with a generous bosom. Shavings of cold mist hovered on her arms. The cold light and the woman weren't one person. They were two distinctive living beings. Just like him and the freak, they were souls bringing a person that had a body. That ice woman stood arrogantly inside the blue bubble. Her realm was much higher than his as she got first sky of ethereal god realm. Her face was chilly and her eyes were like two sharp icicles. Her bold brows knitted tightly together. She glared at them, her countenance getting colder. "Oh, you got bad luck, eh? Why do you have a brat at second sky of original god realm? Can he endure this?" The cold light mocked him. "Seems like you'll get nothing this time." The eccentric man who had captured Yan couldn't help but snort. His face darkened. He didn't snap back as it would show that he was ashamed of bringing Yan with him. He had his difficulties. He got hurt severely last time. He didn't have enough energy to select the candidate. If Yan hadn't built the space door at that exact moment, he couldn't have found anyone. Initially, he decided to give up. The moment he sensed Yan within his range, he tried to drag him into the space crack. After he retrieved Yan, he felt reluctant because Yan's realm was too low. He understood that his hope was in vain this time. But he had to try anyway. He didn't have extra energy to find another capable candidate. Although Yan was just a byproduct, he could only accept that. Whether Yan could help him or not, it was in God's hands. "You found someone from your clan?" The old freak was baffled for a moment. He looked at the ice woman, frowning. Does she know what will happen? The cold light was silent. The ice woman inside the blue bubble had a pair of calm but icy cold eyes. She said, "It has nothing to do with you." The old man smiled, shaking his head. "Poor child. How about you?" The cold light retorted. "Does the one who you found know what will happen?" "Haha, perhaps he doesn't. Many years ago, we were like them. We were dragged here knowing nothing. Then, we lost our god bodies and our soul altars collapsed. Look at us now." The cold light seemed to ridicule herself. "It has been so many years. Like the reincarnation, We've become the originators. Sigh, it's our fates then. Shi Yan's eyes were cold. He looked at the eccentric man. From what you're discussing, I won't have a decent ending, will I? Decent ending? The old freak laughed oddly. If you can't succeed in this place, who will have a good ending? Kid, don't hate me. I'm going to give you a good encounter. It depends on whether or not you can take it. As you're here, at least you have a chance. What chance? Shi Yan didn't think he would be grateful for that. He mocked him. A chance for my god body and soul to vanish? Well, not necessarily to get your soul vanished. But the best condition you can get is to be like us. Losing your body and shattering your soul altar. You will have only a wisp of your soul remain, said the cold light. Shi Yan was filled with cold intent, as if he had fallen into an icy chamber. He could feel his temperature lowering. He suddenly understood that nothing good would happen this time. That freak got him here to fulfill something for him. Whether Shi Yan could survive or not, the old man wouldn't mind. The cold light and the old man quieted down. They didn't say more as they were waiting for something. The blue bubbles were still drifting. After an unknown period, a massive blue bubble appeared in front of them. It carried a dragon, an evil dragon. That evil dragon was around 2,000 meters long, which reluctantly stuffed him inside the massive bubble. It was struggling to keep every inch of it inside the bubble. It was trying really hard, as if it was really afraid that its limbs could stick outside of the bubble. A dark blue chunk hovered above the dragon's head. It was another soul. The eccentric old man's visage changed. The cold light was also shaken. They were both frightened, looking at the dark blue light above the evil dragon's head. The evil dragon belonged to the monster clan. This tribe had people with the most tenacious, unbreakable bodies among the monster tribes. When he was an old orchid star, Eccentric had found a skull of an evil dragon. Back then, they got so happy. The giant had explained to him its features and how strong the evil dragon was. Thus, at first glance, he knew it was an evil dragon. Observing for a while, he was sure that this dragon was level 12 at least. It could be compared to ethereal god realm. However, its body was much stronger than that of the warrior in the same realm. It seemed like the blue soul hovering above the dragon's head had confined the dragon's soul. The dragon couldn't even release its soul energy. It was always struggling. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't get rid of the restraint of the blue soul. You can capture an evil dragon. Aren't you afraid that its tribe will find you and take revenge? Asked the old man in astonishment. If they want to find me and take revenge, they have to get in here first, right? If I can get out of here, will I be afraid of the evil dragon's tribe? Arrogant laughter arose from the dark blue light. To capture this lost evil dragon, I've exerted a lot of effort. I must succeed this time. The eccentric old man's face darkened. He glanced at Shi Yan, sighing begrudgingly. He knew his chance wasn't great this time. Living beings with real entities were something that could assure their success. The stronger their bodies were, the more significant opportunities they could have. Since the Ice Clan had unique physiques, their bodies were also tenacious. The evil dragons of the Monster Clan were indeed famous existences throughout big star areas thanks to their imposingly tenacious bodies. The freak man thought that Shi Yan wasn't worth mentioning compared to the Ice Woman and the evil dragon. Chapter 958, Meddle. Chapter 958, Meddle, _ The three distinctive souls were in three different blue bubbles, moving forward quickly. Shi Yan, the Ice Woman, and an evil devil were also with them inside a bubble. After a while, the Eccentric Man, the precursor of the Ice Clan, and the man who appeared last discussed using their souls. Then, they used force all of a sudden. Shi Yan's and the Ice Woman's bubbles flew fast forward, merging with the massive bubble that carried the evil dragon. Stay put. We're going to arrange something. The old man informed Shi Yan and laughed before leaving with the two other souls. Shi Yan, the Ice Woman, and the evil dragon were put together inside the massive bubble. The three souls had done something so that Shi Yan's bubble stopped drifting away. Different-sized bubbles were still moving around them, heading somewhere ahead while their bubble seemed to get rid of some suction force from the other end. The evil dragon's soul was struggling hard as if it had been trying to wiggle. However, they didn't know what kind of soul restriction the man who came last had cast on him. No matter how hard the dragon tried to condense its soul energy, it couldn't escape this restraint. Its huge body shivered, wiggling hopelessly. It looked desperate and distressed. Do you know what's going on? Those two didn't have bodies. What's their purpose in bringing us here? Shi Yin was cold and stern, asking the ice woman right after the other three had left. Shi Yin could see that this ice woman was obedient to the others. She seemed to know something. Shi Yin didn't want to be plotted against. He wanted to know the situation first so that he could strategize against the freak man. Unfortunately, the ice woman disdained him. Her clear and cold eyes glanced at him once and then turned away. She didn't want to talk to him. A moment later, the ice woman flew up, landing on the evil dragon's head. The refined, chilling energy emerged around her body while she was releasing her soul energy, seeping through the dragon's head. She wanted to help the dragon get rid of its restraint. Beads of sweat that sparkled like ice appeared on her snow-white checks, rolling along her slender neck. As she cultivated extremely cold energy, her body was so chilled that even her sweat was frozen right after they appeared. She focused, her face stern and cold. Wisps of cold mist crawled around her body. Currents of ice, crystal-like airs emitted from her 10 exquisite fingers, entering the evil dragon's head, inch by inch. The dragon realized her deed. It was surprised and felt hopeful. The two of them urged force at the same time. The massive body of the dragon slowly froze. The powerful cold air covered it entirely. The ice woman became more severe. She was constantly releasing energy. She even used the power of her ethereal extent. Beams of light that was as sparkling as icy, spider webs emerged from her glabella, shooting towards the evil dragon. The dragon wiggled. Its mist-covered body made crack, crack sounds. It seemed to consume a lot of energy. All of a sudden, a triangle seal emerged from the evil dragon's head, which carried a massive soul energy fluctuation. The evil dragon looked miserable. Its huge eyes were filled with fear and resentment. The soul energy inside that seal fluctuated sharply, aiming at the dragon. That seal was the ultimate form of restriction used to confine the dragon's soul. The more the dragon wiggled, the brighter the triangle seal became. It looked like 3 blades, which were cutting the dragon's soul and making its massive body shiver and curl in pain. The ice-like, sparkling face of the ice woman paled. Her sweat turned into ice beads. She seemed to have consumed a significant amount of energy. The evil dragon had been struggling for a long time. Gradually, it couldn't resist the pain in the soul anymore. It became hopeless and reluctant. The dragon wanted to give up. The ice woman had cold eyes. She shouted, her voice like the sharp icicles. If you give up now, we will not have any chance later. As the dragon's soul was restrained, it didn't have the energy to talk. The giant pupils of the dragon showed its distress and pain. It seemed like the seal had blocked its ability to use the soul to communicate. The dragon's situation was much worse than Shi Yan's and the ice woman's. Being shouted at, the devil dragon pulled itself together. They started to urge more energy. The dragon continued to wiggle. The massive body over 2,000 meters long had blood trickle from its scales. This was the sign that the monster had forced its energy to the utmost. To get rid of this restraint, the dragon seemed to want to risk its life. The ice woman and the evil dragon seemed to know their destiny. To break this harsh destiny, they were trying to escape the restraint of the 3 souls. However, none of them had informed Shi Yin about anything. They didn't consider Shi Yin as someone in the same place as them, someone who could help. They knew Shi Yan's cultivation base. In their eyes, Shi Yin had only second sky of original God realm. It wasn't worth mentioning. He couldn't help them at all. Thus, they didn't bother explaining to him or acknowledging him with a look. In the blue bubble, Shi Yin frowned, his face dark and cold. He quietly assessed the ice woman and the evil dragon. After a long time, he swiftly glided like the ice woman to reach the dragon. Looking at the woman whose skin was like snow and as beautiful and elegant as a snowflake, he spoke deliberately, Do you need help? The evil dragon couldn't see him, but it could hear him. It stopped wiggling for a moment. The ice woman knitted her brows, her cold eyes looking at him. You can't help us. You just need to stay put. Don't talk, don't disturb or distract us. That's how you can help us. Shi Yin was surprised. Pondering for a while, Shi Yin continued, You want to help the evil dragon get rid of the soul restraint, right? The ice woman had a gleam of disdain in her eyes, as if talking to him would affect her concentration. She neither turned around nor answered him, and just continued releasing more energy. She was using her soul energy to assist the dragon in resisting the triangle soul seal. The soul seal came from that imposing soul. It was like an inexplicable, magical lock that locked up the dragon's soul. If they wanted to free the dragon, they needed to unlock it or destroy it forcefully. The ice woman and the dragon were using the latter method. They wanted to destroy the seal and free the dragon. Seeing the ice woman and the dragon ignore him, Shi Yin stood at his spot and extended his left hand, placing it on the dragon's head. Don't meddle, or else we will get the reverse effect. The ice woman shouted ear-splittingly. She turned to him, her eyes like icicles. If you do something rash, don't blame me for not showing any mercy. The evil dragon wiggled harder. It even sprayed blood from its scales. It looked so worried, as if it wasn't pleased to let Shi Yin, a low-realm expert, meddle in its struggling situation. They all thought that Shi Yin could only disturb the dragon. However, at the moment it was about to stop him, its giant eyes showed its confusion. After 5 seconds, the massive body of the evil dragon shivered as it was very happy. After Shi Yin had put his hand on the dragon's head, she could feel a new, immense vitality moving in the dragon's body. That vitality was dense, carrying the power of earth and heaven and giving a great tonic to the dragon. He was using the ability to give away vitality, which was beyond her common knowledge. Receiving the surging life energy, the tired dragon was boosted up. It roared inaudibly and started to struggle again. Her clear but cold eyes of the ice woman brightened quietly. She nodded, speaking indifferently to Shi Yin. Just pump more life energy. Don't stop. She was bossy, giving orders. She thought that only if Shi Yin followed her orders, it would bring luck to the three of them. Shi Yin just smiled, not caring about her. However, he did release more vitality to help the dragon recover its energy. Inside a bubble far from them, the arrogant soul suddenly sneered disdainfully. Those 3 kids are cooperating to help the evil dragon get rid of my restraint. The cold light flashed but kept silent. The eccentric old man who brought Shi Yin here shook his head. Just a waste of effort. It's normal that they will struggle. Not everybody is as stupid as the kid you brought here. The soul continued to mock him. Well, the kid you brought here doesn't know what will happen, eh? Haha, it's no use to hide things from him. He has only second sky of original god realm. Can he endure that? You think you can take his god body before he's destroyed? Too dumb. The eccentric man's face darkened. He snorted. I never asked for your opinions. No matter what, I have to try. That kid has a tenacious body. I've tested that. Perhaps he could endure it. Haha, good. I also want to see if you can borrow his body to enter, laughed the arrogant soul. That girl's from your ice clan. She's extraordinary. Her god body has been trained specially. That's a good sapling. Why do you guys want to destroy her? The freak man looked at the cold light. Does she know the situation? She's the sacrifice that my clan has offered me. She knows the meaning of her existence. The ice clan has nurtured her in order to bring her here to help me get in there. The cold light sighed as if it was a little hesitant. What a pity. It doesn't seem like she accepted her fate. Haha, she's giving a hand to help my evil dragon. Sigh, too bad. Too bad she can't do it. The cold light sighed again. Chapter 959. Butcher the Chicken with the Cattle Knife. Chapter 959. Butcher the Chicken with the Cattle Knife. The god body of the ice woman had twirling wisps of cold air that sparkled like ice, which then seeped into the evil dragon. The evil dragon was still wiggling, using its energy. Shi Yin put one hand on the dragon's head, trying to use the death and life power Upanishad to strengthen the dragon. He continually pumped his surging vitality into the dragon to help it endure. The three of them were trying to break the triangle seal. However, after a long time, the seal wasn't destroyed yet. Gradually, the ice woman couldn't endure using her powers for so long. She sighed tiredly, her eyes dispirited as if she was already hopeless. Afterward, the evil dragon also stopped. Its eyes reflected its extremely depressed mood. They wanted to give up. Shi Yin furrowed his brows. His face became more serious. His mind flickered and crystal divines flew out of his fantasy sky ring. He held them in his hand as he sat down cross-legged on the dragon's head, absorbing the energy from the crystals to refill his energy. The ice woman saw that. She also took out her divine crystals and sat down to recover her energy. The evil dragon stopped moving. It looked numb as the energy in its body slowly calmed down. As the dragon had given up, the triangle seal on its head slowly dimmed out. They didn't talk. After a long time, Shi Yin finished refilling, and he turned to the ice woman, asking softly, "What happened? That man brought me here. I have no clue what's going on or what this place is. Can you tell me?" The ice woman used to disdain him. However, her attitude was a little better at this moment since she thought that he was somehow useful. She answered indifferently, "We will all die." Shi Yin nodded. He wasn't so surprised. Those three souls mean to harm us. I know it. I just want to know what they can do. They need a body to enter the place they want to go to. But they all don't have bodies. We're their flesh containers. The moment we get in there, they will possess our bodies. Before our bodies have been smashed down, they will get into a certain place. The ice woman sighed, speaking reluctantly. In the best scenario, we will lose our bodies and our soul altars will break. However, we can still be alive with a wisp of a soul, just like they are now. If we are unlucky, we won't even have a wisp of a soul remaining. We will perish entirely. Shi Yin changed his visage. The evil dragon wiggled, looking ahead of them as if it wanted to intervene something. However, its soul was restrained, so it couldn't join Shi Yin and the ice woman's discussion. The dragon writhed. Not even a small chance? Shi Yin pondered for a while, asking the second time, "If he can get rid of the restraint, perhaps we can find a way to survive when we join hands." "But I'm afraid it will be tough," said that ice woman with a distressed countenance. Shi Yin was grim, taking a deep breath. He looked at the evil dragon underneath, whispering, "Let me give it a try, okay?" The ice woman was surprised. She studied him for a while and then said, "You want to try? You have only second sky of original God realm. What can you do?" "We always try. If I can't, we will discuss then." Shi Yin smiled casually. While she was gazing at him, he extended his hand and put it on the dragon's head. The ice woman wore a stern face, watching him. This time, Shi Yin didn't give more life energy to the evil dragon. He was releasing a soul fluctuation. A wisp of refined soul flew out of his hand, entering the dragon's head. He immediately felt the formidable soul fluctuation of the evil dragon. Different from many races, monsters didn't have soul altars, and their souls didn't hover above the sea of consciousness. Beasts had different methods of cultivating. They seemed to focus on quenching their bodies. The evil dragon didn't have a soul altar inside its head. It had only a huge chunk of soul energy. It looked like an opaque ball moving continually. At this moment, that soul ball didn't spin as a triangle seal tied it down. That seal was the restraining energy binding the evil dragon's soul, which prevented it from controlling its body. It couldn't even talk. When Shi Yan's soul got inside the dragon's head, the dim triangle seal glowed. A flow of strong backlash energy was generated from the seal. It followed and attacked Shi Yan's soul as if it had eyes. His sea of consciousness was hurt. Shi Yan's eyes became colder. "Burn," he hissed, and the power of the soul consciousness he had sent away changed. It was now a space blade that wanted to smash the seal into pieces. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The soul energy that flew out from the triangle seal suddenly divided and multiplied like countless spider webs. It didn't attack Shi Yin, but it silently entered the evil dragon's soul. It seemed that the spider thread-like soul had its own consciousness even though it was tied to the master and manipulated continuously. The meaning of that seal to exist was to only confine the evil dragon's soul. It didn't want to spend energy on anything else. Yin frowned. He understood this was a bit tricky to deal with. If he wanted to destroy that seal, he had to enter the dragon's soul. That seal was moving constantly, which made it hard to break. Yan's soul consciousness with space power could damage the evil dragon's soul if he was careless. It was possible that he may grind the dragon's soul into pieces before he broke the seal. That was not what he wanted to see. Yin contemplated. "It's complicated and annoyed indeed," said the Ice Woman. "It's hard to use our soul energy to help it out. Only the dragon can free itself. That was why I've used icy energy to try to freeze that seal." Yin nodded. "Yeah, it's tough though. That man's ream is profound enough, and so is his understanding of power Upanishad. The barrier he has cast is interlinked with his mind, so it isn't still." Sigh. The Ice Woman sighed, looking at him with complex eyes. She thought he had wasted his efforts. She then sank into silence. Yin hadn't stopped here. He was thinking of a possible solution. After a while, his eyes brightened as an idea rose in his mind. In the next moment, his other soul quietly changed in his sea of consciousness. The soul created by the origin and heaven flames of Grace mainland had turned into a scorching flame, burning fiercely. The result of the heaven flames and origins fusion was that they became part of his soul. The characteristics of the heaven flames were also his soul's. He could control them and switch them as he pleased. When he thought something in his mind, his soul would change accordingly. That soul was now the combination of the vermilion true bird flame, purgatory true flame, and earth flame with the feature of high temperatures and extreme yang. That soul of his was like a burning sun. The change of his other soul created the change in his body. At that moment, his body became terrifyingly burning red. The Ice Woman was standing not far from him. She hated that heat. She furrowed her bold brows, instinctively staying away from Yin. Yin didn't mind her. He just continued to boost more energy. His flaming soul sent a wisp of blazing energy which was shrouded by a thin layer. It then carefully flew towards the dragon's soul. As the evil dragon could sense something terrible, it struggled violently. A deep fear sparkled in its huge eyes. However, that flow of flame didn't threaten the dragon's soul after it had gotten in. The thin layer covering it seemed to be able to seal the heat of the flame within, preventing the terrifying heat from getting released. However, that aura was still very imposing. It made the dragon shake continually. Its nerves were tense as if it was afraid that the flame would burn it into ashes in any minute. The seal stayed hidden deep inside the evil dragon's soul. It could sense the danger right when Yan's flaming soul consciousness got in. It moved swiftly like an electric spear between the corners of the dragon's soul. Yin grinned faintly. As that seal was afraid of his soul consciousness, it meant that he could actually damage that seal with this powers. That seal must be formed by the power Upanishad and the soul energy of that arrogant soul. As soon as he burned it down, the other would be damaged too. The soul seal was continually moving and dodging. Yin wasn't impatient, and he simply increased his heating energy. Gradually, a fire sea had covered the dragon's soul completely. However, this fire sea had a thin membrane created by the origin energy, which prevented it from burning the evil dragon's soul. The seal hiding inside the dragon's soul could feel something wrong at this moment. Without any hesitation, it seized the chance to fly out of the dragon's soul, trying to escape. Swish! A bunch of light flew away from the dragon's eye, fleeing as fast as possible. Yan's contemplated for a while, his face malicious, touching his glabella. Swoosh! Blazing flames flew out hastily, aimed at that bunch of light. Right after that, the fiery energy was released immediately. Sizzle! 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 The fleeing bunch of life dissolved quickly, burned into sparks and scattered away. The soul energy in it vanished. The restrained evil dragon suddenly roared. Its massive body shook, drawing a graceful curve in the void. The light of Meddle sparkled in its horns as energy circulated in its body once again. The Ice Woman looked at Shi Yin with fear. She quietly lengthened the distance between herself and Shi Yin. She hated the heat from Shi Yin's body. The Ice Clan stayed in extremely cold areas, so none of them enjoyed the heat. To them, the chilliest areas were the places that could progress their power Upanishad fast the most. They instinctively hated light and heat. Not good. The Ice Woman seemed to remember something. The soul restrained was cast by that arrogant soul. You burned his restraint. They must know what we are doing. Actually, Shi Yin was hesitant at that moment, but he still burned it down eventually. He was calm when he spoke. Those three aren't good people. We don't need to retrain ourselves. If we can hurt them as much as possible, we can have a greater chance to survive. That damn old man. He dared to cast the soul restriction on me. McGee will make him pay big for this. After the evil dragon moved again, he roared and thundered inside the blue bubble. His aura was terrifying. I won't spare him. Chapter 960, Evil Dragon McGee. Chapter 960, Evil Dragon McGee _ The space crack where streamers moved had a place where lights congregated. It was a giant blue bubble as large as an entire life star. That bubble was massive. It had countless flaming streamers gathering. Bubbles that came from everywhere disappeared into that big blue bubble. This place seemed to be one end of this chaotic space basin. The three souls also stopped here. Then, the arrogant soul shook violently as if he was severely hit. Gradually, the face he generated turned ferocious. He cursed, "Damn it! They expelled my soul restriction and even burned it down." The cold light twisted for a while before turning into a cold, human face that frowned at him. "Didn't you say that the evil dragon couldn't get rid of it?" The eccentric old man who had brought Shi Yin also changed his face. "Seems like the situation has changed. I didn't expect any unexpected event to happen at this moment." "It was your man," roared the arrogant soul. "Carlos, does the kid you brought cultivate firepower Upanishad?" "No, it's not true. His fire has the aura of heaven flames. He fused with the origin. F***CK. Carlos, why didn't you remind me about that?" The man called Carlos was the soul that had dragged Shi Yin to this place. His face darkened shortly after. Heaven flames? That kid has fused with heaven flames? Damn it. Abaka, what should we do now? The stern face condensed by cold light looked at the arrogant soul and spoke. "Abaka, how did you get that evil dragon? Can you direct the evil dragon tribe here?" As he mentioned the evil dragon tribe, the three souls' faces darkened. They all knew how dangerous the evil dragon tribe was. Evil dragon tribe? The haughty Abaka became serious. He contemplated for a while, and then shook his head. "I think not. Kristen, you're a superior of the Ice Clan. Your Ice Clan was always strong, and you live not far from the evil dragon tribe. Is that tribe so dangerous to deal with?" Among the three souls, the one who brought Shi Yin here was called Carlos, the ice expert was called Kristen, and the haughty soul's name was Abaka. They were all experts from Agate Star area. They were at peak of ethereal god realm, just one step away from incipient god realm. Today, they gathered for one thing that could help them walk through this threshold to enter incipient god realm. It also could help them rebuild their soul altars. Kristen used to be a famous sage of the Ice Clan. His power Upanishad was exquisite. He had quickly reached ethereal god realm. He came here to find an opportunity to enter incipient god realm. In Agate Star area, the Ice Clan stayed not far from the evil dragon tribe. They knew the situation of the evil dragon tribe well enough. When Abaka rose this issue, Carlos also looked at Kristen, the one who used to be a precursor of the Ice Clan. Kristen frowned deeply. In our Agate Star area, the Monster Clan was always strong. The evil dragon tribe was the pillar of the Monster Clan. They're the best fighters of the Monster Clan. Since our Ice Clan lives not far from the evil dragon tribe, we don't want to cause any grudge against this powerful tribe. The evil dragon tribe likes to cover their members' mistakes. They will seek revenge for even the most minor grudges. If they know that you capture their member, they will never spare you. Abaka listened to him, his face ferocious. Wait until I've reached incipient God realm. I won't be afraid of them. We can't let them escape at any cost, Ibaka hissed, or else none of us can dodge the flame of anger of the evil dragon tribe. Can they get out of this place? Carlos laughed evilly. Although the brat I brought cultivates space power Upanishad, unless he finds the space crack mouth, he will stay here forever. Pausing for a while, he continued, just ignore them for now. After we finished our preparation, we'll capture them. Kristen nodded, trying to comfort the others. Ibaka, soul consciousness can't detect this place. Even if we kill that little evil dragon, no one will know it. Yeah, we just need to kill all who were involved. When we return to Agate Star area in the future, the evil dragon tribe won't figure out a thing. Listen to Kristen and Carlos, Ibaka smiled. Yeah, it's true. We should finish our business first. The three souls immediately got back to their work. They floated outside the massive blue bubble, gathering more bubbles. They shrank the gigantic bubbles and made them merge with the biggest one. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Blue electric strikes shot out from the bubbles, gathering the small bubbles that the three souls had condensed. Gradually, under their powers, blue crystals were generated. They pulled the crystals out, making them float by their souls. Those blue crystals were synthesized by some energy inside the massive blue bubble. They must have some special effects. After the three of them had condensed around 11 blue crystals, their soul energy fluctuated tiredly as if they had consumed a lot of energy. Almost done. Ibaka spoke first, his face malignant. Go. We can drag those juniors here. Kristen and Carlos also stopped, looking at the floating blue crystals contentedly. They returned with Ibaka to find Yin and the other two. Dash! Evil Dragon McGee shouted crazily for a while, and then ceased. His massive body wiggled before shrinking, turning into a rough, young man. Yin was a little surprised. He looked at the dragon transform into a humanoid form. He knew that the dragon had finished. Members of the monster clan were able to transform into human forms after they had reached a specific realm or level. After McGee finished his transformation, he happily flew towards Yin, patting his shoulder. You're excellent. You freed me from the soul restraint. Not bad. Not bad. McGee always appreciates favors. When you come to the evil dragon tribe's territory, I will treat you well. He didn't speak to the ice woman. The ice woman furrowed her bold brows, looking at Yin and McGee talking. She was a bit impatient. Shouldn't we think about what to do next? The other three won't let us go easily. Perhaps they're coming here already. Yin and evil dragon McGee stopped talking and laughing as they heard her. They became stern. Those three are much more familiar with this place. If we fight them here, we won't have any advantages. McGee snorted. His eyes had some sparks of flames. I've tried. From the day I met that man, I've always been struggling hard. I'm not his equal opponent. He knows that I won't follow him. That was why he restrained my soul to prevent me from troubling him more. Pausing for a while, he looked at Yin and the ice woman. He said, How about you? Are you sure you can defeat them? The beautiful, snow-white face of the ice woman twitched as she sighed reluctantly. I'm not like you guys. I came here intentionally. Yin and McGee were skeptical. That man used to be the pride of our ice clan. He reached ethereal god realm pretty early. To enter incipient god realm, he came here. I don't know what is good about this place, nor what could help him enter incipient god realm. However, I'm the sacrifice that our clan's seniors have sent to him. They want to have an incipient god realm expert for the ice clan. I'm just a supporting rock for his breakthrough, said the ice woman with a lonesome face. I know him. Kristen, right? I've heard of him before. McGee nodded. Our evil dragon tribe lives not far from the ice clan. We know you're experts. Kristen has disappeared for many years. I didn't think that I would meet him here. I used to hear about you too. The ice woman looked at McGee. You're the last son of the evil dragon tribe's patriarch. You're haughty indeed. You like to swagger around and bully people. Nothing said about you is good. McGee looked embarrassed. He opened his hands, explaining to Yin. The Ice Clan and our tribe are somehow opponents. This is how they've tried to insult and shame me. I have a good reputation. Dude, don't listen to this woman. Yin smiled and nodded. It's all right. I don't care whether you have a good reputation or not. I just want to see if any of you guys have a plan to get out of here. As long as you can find me the entrance, I can bring us out of this place. McGee and the Ice Woman's eyes brightened, looking at him suspiciously. I cultivate space power, Upanishad. Yin smiled and explained. McGee and the Ice Woman were shaken. I know how to get in here. I know the direction. McGee said first, follow me. I'm taking you to the entrance. Then, McGee flew to the area behind them. His body moved like a flood dragon, breaking the blue barrier. He flew fast as if he wasn't afraid of anything in this chaotic space basin, not even the erosive power of the space streamers. The Ice Woman hesitated for a while. Eventually, she urged her power, froze her body, and flew away from the bubble. Yin followed them. McGee was a monster. It was a member of the evil dragon who was famous for their extraordinary, tenacious bodies. The space streamers struck his body like thousands of electric spears. However, he seemed to not be affected. He just continued moving like a lightning strike. The Ice Woman had frozen her body. Even though she was now an ice sculpture, she was still able to move swiftly between the dangerous streamers. Yin frowned. He knew McGee and the Ice Woman were from clans which were famous for their intimidating bodies. It seemed like that woman had quenched her body using some secret technique to adapt to this space. Hovering in between the space streamers, Yin had to use his energy continuously to resist. Where are you hiding? Not long afterward, Ibaka roared behind them. That brat who attacked me. I want to draw your origin to heal my soul. Go die. The three souls appeared behind them, moving like three spooky ghosts and approaching them from three different angles. Chapter 961. Inexorable Doom. Chapter 961. Inexorable Doom on a phone. Ikaba, Kristen, and Carlos had almost stopped Yin's team at the same time from three different directions. They didn't look friendly at all. Yin had his face darkened. According to the Ice Woman, the three of them had reached the peak of ethereal god realm. They were just one step away from the incipient god realm. That was why they came here. The three of them were quite familiar with the situation in this area. At the same time, as they were in the soul form, the chaotic currents in the space basin didn't affect them. They wanted to use the perilous features of this area to attack Yin and his partners. Even if Yin's team risked their lives, they wouldn't have a chance to win. Yin gradually got his mind to turn calm. He looked at the three of them as electric lights sparkled in his mind. If he could cause a dispute between the three of them, making them attack each other, perhaps he would have a way out. However, to the other three, they were just the keys to enter someplace, and their bodies were the essential element for them to get to that place. Before they could get into that mysterious place, the three souls wouldn't attack each other. It wasn't a good idea to raise a conflict between them. Yin thought seriously, forcing himself to be lucid. He couldn't help but look at Ibaka. Pondering for seconds, he smiled, talking to Carlos, the soul that brought him here. I fused with the origin. It's a part of my soul now. Without the origin, my soul altar will break. And without a soul altar, I have only a skeleton left. Pausing for a while, he continued, Is it useful for you if I only have a corpse? Hearing him, Carlos slightly changed his face. He contemplated, talking to Ibaka, I want to use him to enter that place. You can't hurt him. Ibaka snorted, his eyes wicked. This brat used heaven flames to hurt my soul. Carlos, do you want to protect him? You have the evil dragon, and Kristen has his sacrifice. What do I have? Carlos nodded. I want to use him to get in there. You won't destroy him, will you? If you want to do that, I won't just let you attack him. Ibaka wore a harsh face, looking at Yin and then at Carlos. He gritted his teeth, grinning. All right, Carlos. I'll give you face this time. Carlos nodded, saying nothing else. Ibaka sneered, aiming at McGee. A triangular soul seal emerged from his eyes on the face he had condensed with clear facial features. A blue crystal shot out of his soul, sparkling with a strange light. It looked magically powerful amidst the chaotic space current. The soul seal suddenly enlarged, pressing down on the evil dragon. Evil Dragon McGee in his human form had flames in his eyes. His indignant roar shook the sky. "You dare provoke me many times. You're challenging our evil dragon tribe to life or death. My father will never spare you." While McGee was shouting, his body enlarged, turning back to his monster form. His energy shot out like light dots, trying to resist. Too bad for him, Icaba was quite familiar with this place. He knew how to subdue the dragon. The soul seal he created could combine with the erosive power of the chaotic space current. It pressed down, restraining the dragon's soul for the second time. Yin and the Ice Woman had spent a lot of efforts to free evil Dragon McGee's soul, and now what they had done was just in vain. McGee quieted down immediately. Just like the first time they saw him, he looked helpless, unable to even talk. Afterward, Ibaka laughed evilly. "I know the evil dragon tribe's powerful, but so what? Can they get here and chase after me? Wait until I've reached the incipient god realm. What can the evil dragon tribe do to me then? The agate star area is vast enough anyways." He seemed unafraid of the evil dragon tribe. Carlos also sneered, talking to Yin. "Kid, you shouldn't do that again, or else I'll confine you myself." Kristen, the Ice Clan's precursor, moved to the Ice Woman. He looked at her with his dark, cold eyes, talking deliberately. "The clan has chosen you and sent you here to help me. It's all right that you're not willing to cooperate. However, our clan has its plans. If we can have one more incipient God Realm expert, our future will be brighter and smoother. For the welfare of our clan, I won't feel guilty about sacrificing you." The cold and clear eyes of the Ice Woman had a gleam of sorrow. She didn't say anything, just standing idly like a puppet. She looked pitiful and bitter. She struggled, but couldn't escape her fate. The Ice Woman felt low, tears trickling down her cheeks. A wisp of sorrowful intent swirled around her. Kristen frowned as he felt a little bit reluctant. They were from the same clan. He knew this girl's natural endowment wasn't bad. She had gotten special training from the clan to be his sacrifice. She was designed to help him enter the incipient god realm. "Go," Kristen sighed, releasing a cold thought. An unknown force pulled the Ice Woman, flying away. Ibaka kept smiling faintly. His soul floated above the evil dragon's head, dragging it towards the area they had prepared previously. Carlos looked at Yin. Yin sighed, then nodded reluctantly. "I know what to do. You don't need to urge me." Then, he flew after the Ice Woman and the evil dragon, moving to their destination. Kristen laughed evilly and eccentrically. "Well, so you know your place." 3 souls and 3 bodies slowly moved through the streamers, heading to the biggest blue bubble. On the way, the 3 souls often discussed, but they didn't mind Yin and the other 2. Yin didn't talk or ask about the features of this area. Sometimes, he exchanged looks with McGee. He could tell that the latter wasn't willing. He had signaled Yin to find a chance to help him. The Ice Woman seemed to have given up. Yin had signaled to her several times, but she didn't reply. Perhaps, she thought that they couldn't do anything. For the sake of her clan, she decided to follow Kristen and help him reach the incipient god realm. Yin was indifferent. Although it looked like he had done things in vain to release McGee, he did harvest something. He knew what he would encounter. McGee and the Ice Woman had recognized his performance. They thought he could be of help now. On the way to their target, Yin had always been contemplating. He pondered what he should do next. He could confirm one thing. Carlos would take his body to enter someplace. He would let his soul enter Yin's head. Then, using Yin's body, he could dodge some kinds of attacks. In other words, before that event, Yin and Carlos would combat in the former sea of consciousness. Yin looked natural, but he was chilled, discreetly waiting for the right chance. After an unknown time, the 6 strange existences arrived by a massive bubble, which was as big as an entire life star. It had a powerful suction force. The rainbow streamers of the chaotic space current and different size bubbles were congregating at that biggest blue bubble, becoming a part of it. Kristen and the other two halted outside the bubble, waiting for something in silence. Yin, the Ice Woman, and the evil dragon were watched by 3 different souls. They floated in different corners of the place, looking at the big blue bubble, as Yin silently released his soul consciousness. Sizzle. His wisp of soul consciousness scattered as if it got electrocuted right when it touched the blue bubble. His soul consciousness vanished, causing Yan's expression to change thinking. He couldn't help but observe the 3 souls. This planet-sized bubble had electric beams moving around, which were powerful and intimidating enough to crush all energies and souls without a tangible entity. In other words, those 3 souls couldn't get inside the bubble with their powers. Yin now knew why the 3 souls had to capture the strong creatures with a tenacious body. They needed the key to enter the bubble. He couldn't help but look at Kristen, Ibaka, and Carlos. He knew what he had to deal with. The 3 souls didn't act impetuously. They were waiting for something in silence. It seemed their chance hadn't come yet. The bubble became bigger from time to time, just like it had thousands of streams congregating into the vast sea. Silently, many brilliant streamers descended from the sky like long rivers, disappearing into the bubble. Together, they created a strikingly magnificent space. After a long time, space currents and bubbles getting into the big bubble became less. Not so many bubbles appeared at the end. Eventually, no more bubbles arrived. The streamers gathering seemed to have been cut off. They exploded like fireworks, shooting everywhere. The biggest, most beautiful bubble changed slowly. An infinite number of ice-blue electric beams sparkled, moving like snakes. They created an unknown natural barrier that could destroy everything coming near to the bubble. Almost, at this moment, Carlos hissed. His eyes became excited as if he had been waiting for this moment for so many years. Kristen and Ibaka were also thrilled. It looked like a door of hope slowly opened in front of their eyes. They just needed to cross that door to enter a whole new world, the incipient God realm. The 3 faces created by 3 different souls were now gazing at their praise. Yin and the others became cold and stern under their gazes. They felt extremely insecure, as if their lives were coming to an end. The other 3 looked so excited, as though Yan's group were ready sacrifices whose blood and flesh were needed by them to get the recognition of the mighty heaven. Mwahahaha. The 3 souls laughed evilly while dashing out, heading towards Yin, McGee, and the Ice Woman. They wanted to enter their praise sea of consciousness and take control of the body. Chapter 962. Soul Changing. Chapter 962. Soul Changing, __. The 3 souls moved swiftly. At that moment, Yin, McGee, and the Ice Woman faced a huge trouble as the 3 souls brutally entered their body. Carlos directly intruded Yan's sea of consciousness, occupying his soul altar. He then released a wisp of origin energy, tempting the soul. Yin seemed to have been struck by a lethal hit. He felt like his soul was cut into many pieces, almost scattering into nothingness. He lost the control of his god body immediately. At this moment, Carlos got the control of Yan's god body, using his thought to manipulate it. He urged Yan's body to move towards that blue bubble. At the same time, Evil Dragon McGee and the Ice Woman were also invaded. Ibaka and Kristen got control of their body instantly. They then manipulated the other's god body, thrusting into the bubble. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Countless electric beams entangled their bodies when Yin, McGee, and the Ice Woman got through the membrane of the blue bubble. The electric beams entered their body through their skin, veins, and bones. Pain flooded them. It felt like tens of thousands of steel needles were pricking him at the same time. Yin shivered as his skin was melted. The electric beams had crushed his flesh and energy. McGee and the Ice Woman also screeched the moment they got through the membrane. They felt so much pain, as if someone was tearing their intestines. Beams of hazy blue electricity entered their body, destroying their energy and flesh on a large scale. It was much powerful and lethal than the erosive power of the chaotic space currents. This kind of pain that was hard to endure had almost broken Yan's soul. His body was enduring a pain as though it was burned, making his soul anxious. He couldn't resist Carlos sufficiently, letting him control his god body wholly. Oh! After Carlos entered Shi Yan's head, he screamed in astonishment. He observed Shi Yan's soul altar, his face getting stern. Different from the other warriors, Shi Yan's soul altar also had 3 tiers, but it was marvelous. Floating above the sea consciousness, his soul altar was divided into 3 sections, including the black hole, the heaven flames, and the powers Upanishad. Above the tier of powers, Upanishad and heaven flames floated 2 souls. 2 souls. Carlos's eyes were cold and dark. He felt a bit frightened as he had discovered Shi Yan's secrets. He gazed at the 2 souls. Kid, what's happened to your soul altar? You've cultivated many powers Upanishad, and you have 2 souls. What are you? Carlos felt something had gone wrong. He knew he had caused grudges against someone he shouldn't have provoked. Shi Yan wasn't free to mind him. A pain just like his heart being drilled was expanding in his entire body. He was shivering as his blood and flesh shattered. Those intimidating blue electric beams were eroding his entire vigorous body. The god body he was proud of couldn't endure this harsh attack. After Carlos had gotten over his fright as he shrilled in astonishment. Good, good. My time's come. Shi Yan and the other 2 didn't know how fatal the bubble's outer membrane with the blue electric beams weaving on it were. But Carlos knew about them. That year, Carlos had tried to enter this bubble. He couldn't resist the formidable energy of those blue electric beams. After 10 days, his body was eroded, vanishing into nothingness. At this moment, Shi Yan's body was being dissolved. However, this speed was much slower than what he had imagined. Carlos' eyes brightened. He could see hope. Carlos had thought that Shi Yan was only at the 2nd sky of original God realm, so he wouldn't be able to bring the former inside. As Carlos wasn't so sure, he had always been worried. But now, at this moment, Shi Yan's tenacious body was much more than what he had expected. This body was strong enough to resist until they got to the center of the bubble. Carlos was so happy he had almost cracked up. Staying inside Shi Yan's sea of consciousness, Carlos couldn't help but watch McGee and the Ice Woman. McGee of the evil dragon tribe could make it. Although its massive body was hurt severely under the electric beams, and its scales fell off, its body hadn't been eroded yet. However, the Ice Woman couldn't endure it anymore. She was a bloody figure shortly after getting in contact. They could even see her crystalline bones. Until now, even Shi Yan's body was damaged, though his skeleton was still all right. Apparently, he possessed an endless potential. Carlos laughed crazily. He had thought that this kid he had just brought here because he had no other choice around couldn't help him much. Who would have thought that he had picked up a treasure? If it kept going this way, he could even achieve his target. While Carlos was still excited, he found that the Ice Woman's almost doomed. Her ice crystal-like skeleton was almost melted all. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The Ice Woman suddenly moved, gliding toward Carlos. Carlos darkened his face while staying inside Shi Yan's sea of consciousness. He could guess Kristen's plan. With cold eyes, he started to gather soul energy in Shi Yan's sea of consciousness to prevent Kristen from getting in. Kristen knew that this sacrifice from the Ice Clan wasn't enough to aid him to get what he wanted. Seeing Shi Yan's tenacious body, he had another plan. He wanted to share Shi Yan's body with Carlos. If he hid his soul in Shi Yan's body, he could get to that place. Swoosh! A cold light flew out, entering Shi Yan's body like an icicle. Carlos couldn't help but grin coldly inside Shi Yan's sea of consciousness. The surging soul energy condensed a barrier in Shi Yan's skull, preventing Kristen from entering. The 2 of them used to cooperate well, but now, they attacked each other at the critical moment. Boom, boom, boom. After Kristen flew out, the Ice Woman's body exploded. It turned into nothingness in this world of blue electric beams. A soul altar emerged. It was the Ice Woman. Right after her soul appeared, it got hit. Just like a beautiful firework, her soul turned into smoke, vanishing completely. She was over. Let me in, Kristen roared angrily. The ice blue crystals covered his soul, moving around him. These crystals could prevent the electric beams from corroding his soul. He had condensed those ice blue crystals to resist the electric beams in this place for a short while, but they couldn't give a long-lasting protection. Kristen was hurried. He knew he would be doomed if he exposed himself for a long time. As Carlos and Kristen were at the same realm and not much different in terms of competence, they understood the dangers of this place. Carlos had soon set up a soul barrier in Shuriyan's skull. He successfully stopped Kristen from entering Shuriyan's head. While he was still screaming, Kristen's spinning blue crystals were slowly dissolved. The energy in the crystals was draining, and they could only resist for a short moment. Kristen, you go find a Bacchus flesh host. That evil dragon strong enough to bear the two of you at the same time. Carlos objected fiercely. This kid can endure only me alone. Don't mess up with me. Otherwise, don't blame me. Would a Baccha let me in? Kristen shouted. I'm too far from him. I don't have enough time. Let me in. Quick. Get lost. Carlos thundered. I'll risk my life with you. The cold light gathered its sharp energy like an icicle, shooting towards Shuriyan's skull. You motherf asterisk cur. You'll break his soul. Carlos shouted, his face worried. At the moment he was confronting Kristen, his control of Shuriyan's soul weakened a little bit. Shuriyan's consciousness had been confined, losing his control of the god body. He could only stare at his body being eroded little by little. He was worried, as if he had a flame burning his heart. As Kristen appeared, the pressure he had to bear was reduced. His soul could get the control of his body back. Although the energy that bound his soul had halted for a moment, this moment was enough for him to do many things. Arg! Inside the terrifying area of the bubble's membrane, Shuriyan roared like an enraged wild beast, forcefully urging the immortal demon blood. Drops of dark red blood that looked like jewels burned like a fiery flame, flowing through his god body. An extreme, surging energy flooded his body instantly. His god body turned into a mess of torn flesh and blood, releasing sounds like firecrackers. His veins bulged like snakes under his skin. Each muscle of his was like an erupting volcano. Energy surged powerfully in his body, rocketing his energy to an unimaginable level. As his body was still transforming into the perfect form of the immortal demon tribe, energy ran unceasingly deep inside his head. At this moment, he touched his forehead. Sizzle. His other soul changed all of a sudden, turning into a scorching flame. The formidable heating energy increased without limits, aiming at Carlos. It was the pure heaven flame generated by the origin, which could burn down any creature. In his sea of consciousness, except for himself, everyone else would be a target. When the binding that tied his soul was lifted, Shuriyan could control his body as he pleased. His eyes became garnet, and the blood-red halo glowed on the mark on his soul's forehead. That kind of red light rippled, expanding like water waves. Carlos felt like he was encountering a spooky ghost in this place. He was so uneasy and baffled, looking at the fire sea snatching over him and the red halo coming closer. He didn't know why he was so panic-stricken. He felt the extreme fear deep in his soul. He knew that the fire sea and the blood-red light were enough to extinguish him. This kind of threat was much more terrifying than the blue electric beams out there. Carlos' soul in Shuriyan's sea of consciousness screeched. He didn't dare to try to face the attacks from the soul-destroying powers. He ran away from Shuriyan's brain as fast as possible. Swish! Carlos flew out, full of fear and uneasy feelings. In the next moment, he found that the barrier he had set up in Shuriyan's skull, the one that was supposed to block out Kristen, was swept away completely. He was so scared, his eyes reflecting his extreme fright. He looked at Shuriyan disbelievingly. He felt that he had brought a hungry wolf from outer space to this place. Chapter 963. Expel. Chapter 963. Expel __. Carlos escaped from Shuriyan's god body. He was so worried and uneasy. The ice-blue crystals surrounding his soul gradually cracked. Blue electric beams struck over like snakes, trying to intrude his soul. Just like Kristen, Carlos had no place to go. The two souls surrounded Yin, preparing to attack his soul and occupy his body. What happened? What are you doing? Kristen communicated with him via soul messaging. You had subdued his soul. Why did you fly out? You mother f*** cur. It's because of you. Carlos thundered. If you didn't mess things up, how could that kid get rid of my soul bind? Now, we're over. None of us can get in there again. While the two souls were communicating, more blue electric beams shot towards them. They were as big as ropes, slowly tying their souls up. Their blue crystals couldn't help it anymore. They could explode at any moment. That blue crystals needed a flesh body to promote its effect the most. Without a body to protect the crystals, when they were exposed, they couldn't resist for a long time. Carlos was afraid of Yin. He pondered, then said, I've just used up a lot of energy. I need a break. You go for it. You intrude his sea of consciousness. As long as you can subdue his soul, we can take over his body. Carlos didn't know how strong Yin was, but he did know that Yin's soul was somehow marvelous. The energy released by the latter's soul had terrified him badly. He wanted Kristen to scout out Yin's special powers. Kristen didn't doubt him. He figured that the other had really consumed a lot of his soul energy. As he didn't know how Yin's soul was, he hesitated for a while before forcefully entering Yin's sea of consciousness. Kristen made up his mind. He immediately turned into a bunch of cold light, aiming at Yin's forehead and trying to get into his sea of consciousness. Boom, boom, boom. Yin's god body had the cracking resounding from his bones. Under the power of the immortal demon blood, his damaged flesh and vessels were healed. A garnet halo glowed from his body. Under the effect of the immortal demon blood, his god body transformed quickly. Sharp and pointy barbs emerged from Yin's shoulders, elbows, and knees. They jutted out as if they grew directly from his bones, giving him a ferocious look. His transformation was aimed towards the perfect form of warriors of the immortal demon tribe, and his blood chi became thicker in his body. Blood chi and essence chi were surging inside Yin, which both threatened and thrilled Kristen. He suddenly recognized that with this level of intensity, Yin's body could hold both Carlos and himself to get into the center of the bubble. Kristen didn't hesitate anymore. Swoosh! A big beam of cold light with the icy aura drilled into Yin's glabella, trying to get into his sea of consciousness. Sizzle! 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 Scarlet flames burst out of Yin's eyes, covering his face. As soon as Kristen touched this flame, he faced a lethal attack. His soul energy was melted, dissolving rapidly. The mournful screeching arose from deep inside his soul. Kristen's cold and stern face became blurry, as if making clear facial features was now really difficult for him. It was just a short moment, but Kristen was hurt severely, which had even affected his soul's foundation. At this moment, there was no chaotic current of space energy. Kristen and Carlos couldn't use external forces to attack Yin. They could only use their soul energy. The two of them were powerful existences which were just half a step away from the incipient god realm. Their souls were indeed intimidating. Although they couldn't release their energy at the maximum rate since they didn't have a soul altar, ordinary warriors would never gain the upper hand in a soul fight with them. However, Yin's soul was mysterious and unpredictable due to the other soul that had fused with the origin. He could use the origin to summon the heaven flames easily. The heaven flames had an extremely fiery power, which was enough to destroy the souls. Kristen couldn't endure such a force, so he was hurt badly. Yin chuckled. He had completed his transformation, and his immortal demon form was deemed perfect. He suddenly recognized that in this magical area, as long as his soul wasn't ambushed, he could still maintain his consciousness. Those two souls couldn't capture him. Outside the bubbles were many disorderly streamers. Carlos and Kristen knew how to use the power of those streamers to attack him. Thus, he kept calm and didn't start the fight with the two souls there. However, in the outer layer of the bubble, there wasn't a single beam of streamer for them to use. In other words, Kristen and Carlos couldn't use the streamers to attack his god body. Unless they attacked his sea of consciousness and occupied his soul altar, enchanting his consciousness, he didn't need to be afraid of them. Understanding this, Yin smiled happily. Glancing at Kristen, who was moving restlessly, and Carlos, who was so frightened, Yin grinned while mocking. You two. I think you've just wasted your efforts here. Damn it. You motherf asterisk cur. You plotted against me? Kristen was burnt, and he got seriously hurt. The blue crystals around him exploded one by one. His soul felt so uneasy, his situation getting worse. Kristen knew Carlos had fooled him. He knew Carlos was forcefully expelled from Yan's sea of consciousness. As Carlos didn't know how strong Yin was, he used Kristen as a shield to conduct a test. We don't have much time left, Carlos thundered. Kristen was shaken. He knew they were birds on the same wire. If they couldn't take over Yan's soul altar, they would be doomed here. The two of them exchanged looks. They hesitated, preparing for the second murderous attack. Yin glared at them, not saying anything. His god body in the immortal demon form moved like a sharp weapon that could pierce through everything. He broke out of the blue area, rocketing in another direction. Evil Dragon McGee was there. The 2,000 meters long evil dragon was struggling hard in pain. Blood sprayed out of its body like a shower of rain. McGee's scaled body had so many blue electric beams wound around it, squeezing into his flesh as if they wanted to grind his giant body, killing him slowly in a nasty way. Ibaka had moved inside McGee. Blue crystals covered the dragon's giant head. Those crystals could generate a blue liquid that could shield the dragon's head from the attack of the blue electric arc. The real function of the ice blue crystal was to protect the soul from external attack with the premise that this soul had a body. Ibaka used those crystals to cover McGee's head to protect his own soul hiding inside the head from the electric beams. Although Carlos and Kristen also had the same kind of blue crystals, without a body, they couldn't protect themselves. Those crystals were melted, broken almost completely. At the moment Yin found McGee, he felt the thick blue electric beams start to seep towards his soul altar. Kristen and Carlos hurried to follow him from the other corner, their faces horrible. Yin halted. His face looked cold as he was searching for something in the void. A starlight arm that dragged a brilliant tail of over 1,000 meters grabbed some crystals, pulling them to him. Those crystals belonged to Kristen. As they were hovering around his soul, Yin had taken them. Boom, boom, boom. The blue crystals stuck on Yan's head like some medicinal patches. He looked like he was wearing a bizarre crystal helmet. The moment the crystals covered his head, he could feel beams of electric discharge, which were trying to attack his soul altar, retreat quietly. They didn't swarm over his soul altar anymore. At this moment, his soul was safe. It worked. Yin grinned, coldly looking at Kristen, who was enraged. You don't like it? Oh yeah, you can try to invade my soul one more time. I will make your soul perish. Kristen discolored in fright. Carlos was also scared. He was baffled, looking at Yin. He was hesitant whether he could continue attacking the other or not. Break! Yin shouted as a flame flew out of his left eye. A fiery light ball shot out of his eyes, moving like a meteor towards McGee's head. The flaming light ball suddenly changed, turning into many smaller flames that entered the evil dragon's head. Those flames had the aura of the heaven flames, the most scorching flames that could burn down all kinds of souls and entities. Ibaka screamed, flying away from McGee's head. He knew that the origin flame could destroy both his and McGee's soul. He thought that Yin wanted to kill him and McGee at the same time. He didn't dare to linger. Seeing the incoming danger, Ibaka immediately flew away, avoiding the burning flame. With wild schemes, those three souls had dragged Yin, Evil Dragon McGee, and the Ice Woman here in an attempt to take their body to enter some place. Up till now, the Ice Woman had perished, and her soul and body had both vanished. Yin and McGee were still safe, relatively. At this moment, the three souls were forcefully expelled. They didn't have a flesh host anymore. The three souls formed a formation, silently surrounding Yin. Their clear or blurry faces were filled with bone-deep resentment. You're just three soul remnants. You can use the space streamers to attack us, but In this place, you're just 3 ghosts. Without a god body or a soul altar, you can't use the power Upanishad. Dare to fight with me? Do you want to die? Yin was calm and unafraid, just talking coldly and harshly. If you retreat now, you can escape this place before your soul vanishes. If you want to attack me, haha, don't blame me for striking at your soul until you have nothing left. Evil Dragon McGee panted hard. He was still bleeding. He seemed to be enduring a terrible pain. However, his big eyes, which were filled with resentment, were gazing at Abaka without blinking. I will remember you. If I survive this time, I will show you how intimidating our evil dragon tribe can be. Abaka's face became chilled. Chapter 964. I'm sure I'll handle it. Chapter 964. I'm sure I'll handle it. Underthone. Then, I have to kill you here. Deep in Abaka's eyes was a chilling cold intent. He shouted, then attempted to attack one more time. Carlos and Kristen were on his left and right. Hearing him, they screamed hurriedly. Be watchful of that kid. He's not easy to deal with. Don't get into his soul. Abaka studied Yin. His soul altar's strange. It's tough. We've had bad experiences, Kristen said. We must kill him first, and we have to unite to do so. Abaka, don't be impetuous. Abaka was baffled. He turned to Carlos, who nodded with a cold and dark expression. All right, we'll kill this brat first. Abaka was cold. He hated Yin and wanted to kill him out there. If Carlos hadn't stopped him, Yin would have been executed already. From Kristen and Carlos' attitude, Abaka knew Yin wasn't ordinary. He didn't dare to act rashly, exchanging looks with the other two. They planned to join hands to knock down Yin's soul altar first. You should leave. Yin suddenly turned to McGee, who was still bleeding. He hesitated for a while and then muttered, If you can endure it furthermore, will you move forward to see what's in the center of this place? Evil Dragon McGee was surprised. He didn't know why Yin had rescued him many times. He could explain that Yin had helped him when they were out there because he wanted to use his power to deal with Abaka's team. However, when they had got inside the membrane of the bubble, Yin seemed unafraid of the dangers. Apparently, he wasn't afraid of Abaka's team. McGee didn't know why Yin wanted more troubles to rescue him. Just remember, you owe me this favor, Yin chuckled. Move, I'll handle it. I'll stop them. I'm sure they won't trouble you more. Yin had his calculation. From the woman of the Ice Clan, Yin knew McGee was the youngest son of the evil dragon tribe's patriarch. In Agate Star area, the evil dragon tribe was famous for its intimidation. It was the strongest branch of the monster clan, whose position was crucial. He wanted to take advantages of its authority. As time flew hurriedly, it could be dozens of years passing by. Yin didn't know if his friends and family in the old Orchid Star had been suffering from the disaster or not. However, he was sure that they couldn't live well in the far west region even if they had survived that catastrophe. No matter what happened, he would never forget the resentment. Anyway, the Agate Star area was different from the other star areas. With only himself alone, he couldn't raise any storm in the far west region. If he could have a powerful support, he wouldn't need to worry too much. He could find shelter for those who had survived. Since the evil dragon tribe was a mighty force, it could be a force he could count on. If he had a good relationship with McGee by helping him escape this area, it would be easier for him in the future. Yin was trying to create a good relationship with McGee. Are you sure you can handle it? McGee didn't believe in him. With only your power, are you sure you can deal with the 3 of them? Are you sure? Don't worry, just go. I'll help you resolve them. Don't worry. I'm sure I can handle it. Yin smiled, comforting the dragon. You monsters don't know how to engage in soul fighting. You can't help me with anything even if you stay. You'd better leave early. Even if I die here, as long as you can escape, you will take revenge for me later. What do you think? McGee wasn't an idiot. Listening to Yin's explanation, he quieted down. Suddenly, he nodded and said nothing more before leaving. Abaka's team didn't attribute much value to McGee. In their eyes, even if the monster clan was strong, they were of no use in this unique space. As long as they could clean Yen up, they would have plenty of time to kill McGee. Thus, none of them prevented him from leaving. They all focused on Yen. However, the direction evil dragon McGee had taken made them chilled. McGee didn't run away. He followed Yen's words, and he was confident of his tenacious body. The dragon rocketed towards the center of the bubble. He wanted to see what the three souls had been yearning for in that area. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Clusters of flames flew out of Yen's eyes. Those flames were scarlet, orange-red, and gold. They looked like clusters of clouds, bobbing by Yen. They made the place look like the morning haze that was vividly alive. Those flames were the power of the heaven flames originated from the other soul. It was using the power of the flames to create a sea of fire. Yen stayed in the center of the fire sea. He was busy but still deliberate, looking at the three souls while grinning. Come try me. Not many kinds of energies could damage the soul. Yen didn't know if his space power and star power could do it or not, but he was sure that the scorching flame could exhaust the soul. It could even burn the soul, making it turn into nothingness. Indeed, when he used his other soul as the source of energy to diffuse clusters of flame continually, the three souls became hesitant. The three faces of the three souls became heavy. They slowly moved forward, carefully touching the flame. None of them dared to rush. Yen released a flow of soul consciousness. Boom, boom. The blue electric discharge immediately rushed towards Yen's soul consciousness. Shortly, it was smashed down, sending numbness to Yen's brain. With cold eyes, Yen quieted down. He didn't release soul consciousness from his main soul anymore. Eventually, he knew whichever soul consciousness it would be destroyed in this area. However, the flaming sea created by the heaven flames of the other soul wasn't affected. Clusters of flames connected each other, creating a vast sea of fire with Yen in the center. The haughty Ibaka was the first one touching the heaven flame as he came to a red-orange flame. His clear facial features blurred, as if it were twisted by the wind, making him look terrible. Ibaka was frightened. He immediately moved away from the flaming sea, his face grim while looking at Carlos and Kristen. This brat's tough indeed. Ibaka gritted his teeth while glaring at Carlos maliciously. We should have killed him when we were out there. Now we don't have the space streamers to use. Tell me, what should we do? The three souls hovered by the edge of the fire sea, trying to find a slit to jump in. However, after moving around for several times, they hadn't found any entrance. The heaven flames generated by the origin were fatal to their souls. Thus, they didn't dare to act rashly. The blue crystals around the three souls had bigger cracks under the power of the blue electric arcs. Ibaka's team became more restless. They knew they couldn't linger anymore. They knew what kind of tremendous pressure they would have to bear after their crystals were gone. Get lost? Yen smiled mockingly, his voice unfriendly. If you don't dare to risk your lives and kill me, what can you ghostly souls do? Haha, your defense will be gone soon. I can see that your doomsday is near. The immortal demon blood was being combusted in his body. He was using up his blood rapidly. Yen was still maintaining the immortal demon form. It was perfect, but it was consuming a lot of energy as the electric beams were attacking each corner of his body. In this area, the god body would be eroded with every passing minute. The hazy electric beams were like sharp swords madly destroying his god body. If his body weren't strong enough, his condition would be much terrible. He would have been dissolved, turning into nothingness. The massive energy stored in the immortal demon blood was accumulated with Yen's great efforts. Each drop of immortal demon blood was pretty precious. In this place, Yen was consuming immortal demon blood every second. If it weren't necessary, Yen didn't want to waste his energy to maintain the immortal demon form. It was a torture to his body anyways. Seems like he can't endure any longer. Carlos' eyes brightened, grinning. Even if his god body could be more tenacious, he couldn't use it forever. Just like us, he's consuming energy rapidly. Once he can't endure it anymore, his consciousness would be affected. We will have our chance, right? Ibaka and Kristen were shaken, nodding quietly. Oh, you don't treasure your lives. Yin felt funny. Initially, he didn't want to waste much energy. Anyway, the other three, the ones that were like the arrow at the end of its flight, thought that he would soon finish the energy of his god body. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Surging flames gushed out of Yan's eyes. The fiery power of the flame was scorching hot, covering the entire place as if it wanted to burn down everything else. The clusters of flame hovering around his body were revived by his other soul. They formed 3 different rivers, extending towards Carlos, Ibaka, and Kristen respectively. He attacked proactively. Carlos's team discolored in fright. They were helplessly frightened. As they were scared of the fire sea, they hurried to move away. Yin laughed coldly while his god body gradually disappeared into the fire sea. However, the 3 flaming rivers were still moving as though they had eyes, following the 3 souls closely. Ibaka and the other 2 could only run for their lives. Boom, boom, boom. Their blue crystals all exploded. While the fire rivers were chasing after them, their souls were exposed. The blue electric beams seized the chance and entangled them all. Their thought of killing Yin vanished. They were way too frightened, returning using the old track. They didn't dare to enter further. The 3 of them were filled with sorrow and despair. Their chance, which could appear only after several thousand years, was available to the others. They were so bitter that they wanted to vomit blood. The electric beams moved like sharp knives in their souls, as a drilling heart pain flooded their soul. Kristen faced the worst damage. Shortly after, he halted as his soul was weakened. Under the blue electric beams, his life seal scattered and he perished quickly. Ibaka and Carlos were still flying hastily. They wanted to get rid of this dangerous place while their soul energy was draining rapidly. Yin had retrieved the heaven flame energy, flying at his max speed towards the deeper place inside the bubble. He wanted to see what was in there, what was worth the other 3 to spend so much efforts for thousands of years. Chapter 965, Soul Refining Pool. Chapter 965, Soul Refining Pool _. Inside that massive blue bubble was a brilliant world. It had clusters of silky, thread-like space streamers that gathered in an immense blue pool at the center. The pool situated in the center of this strange world floated in the void. It continually radiated waves of immense blue light. This kind of blue light seemed to have magic that could soothe the soul and make people calm and relaxed. Yin and evil dragon McGee weren't in good condition. McGee had many wounds on his body. Half of the scales on his dragon body had fallen off. He was moving in the void as if he was at his last moments of life. Sometimes, he gathered great effort to wave his tail. Yin was a little better. He had resumed his normal condition after consuming half of the immortal demon blood in his body. However, he wasn't damaged as the demon blood had healed him. His body was still vigorously firm. Compared to evil dragon McGee, his damage taken was trivial. McGee looked at him as if he was looking at a monster. His huge eyes gazed at Yin without blinking. Dude, you look all right. Your body is much more tenacious than mine, isn't it? Yin beamed a reluctant smile. It has been so many years and I haven't dared to relax. The efforts I've made in training my body wouldn't be less than your efforts. Do you know the immortal demon tribe? Evil dragon McGee's eyes brightened. He suddenly laughed. You are from the same tribe as Blood Devil? Impossible. Haha, we are predestined indeed. You know Blood Devil? Yin was surprised. Of course. McGee nodded continually, smiling cheerfully. Blood Devil has a good relationship with my father. The Monster Clan and the Demon Clans are allies in Agate Star area. Blood Devil's territory isn't far from our evil dragon tribe's land. I've been there before. Seems like we're predestined. Listening to him, Yin also smiled. Are you Blood Devil's illegitimate son? Evil dragon McGee's eyes twinkled. He spoke with surprise. Not possible, though. I didn't know that Blood Devil still had some relatives. Yeah, bro. How are you related to Blood Devil? Why have I never heard about your title before? Pausing for a while, McGee cried again. No wonder why Blood Devil has an extremely tenacious body. Although I've never met him before, I know that his body isn't less tough than my father's. No wonder why you were able to get in here. Do you know where we are? Yin contemplated for a while and then asked, how can we get out of here? I don't know. McGee beamed a forced smile. I've brought us here unconsciously. Ibaka captured me. I got here from a forbidden land of the evil dragon tribe. It's a space crack of agate star area. It doesn't have Earth and heaven energy, solar, moon, or any other stars. I only know the place I got through to get to this place. We can start from there. Yin quieted down, feeling hopeless. Splash, splash. As they heard the water splashing, the immense blue pool in the center was releasing waves of blue light. Those ripples calmed down Yin's soul, immersing him in a magical sea, which gave him an indescribably pleasant feeling. He couldn't help but look at the immense blue pool. His eyes concentrated, asking, that blue pool seems to have a magical power that can clean the soul. Do you feel the same thing? Yes, I do. McGee nodded continually. I feel so comfortable under those blue ripples. My soul feels cozy and refreshed. It feels like my soul is washed up. It's wonderful. I think it has something marvelous out there. Should we check it out? How are your wounds? There is no problem. As soon as I have enough energy to recover, my wounds will heal soon. The recovery ability of the evil dragon is well known in the entire agate star area. Okay, we'll get to that pool and check it out. Yin and evil dragon McGee sauntered towards the hazy blue pool. The closer they got to the pool, the more pacific and refreshed they felt in their souls. This level of soul satisfaction was hard to describe. Waves of blue light rippling from the pool had the marvelous power of cleaning the soul. Yin felt all impurities in his mind and soul clean up. He felt very relaxed and revitalized. Soul refining fluid. A weak but surprised voice reached Yin from the blood vein ring. The ring spirit seemed to be very happy. You found a place where there is soul refining fluid. The ring spirit sounded thrilled. However, its soul messaging was paused as if talking to Yin had consumed a lot of its energy. Soul refining fluid? What's that? Yin knitted his brows. He hesitated for a while before asking, how are you? Still fusing the memory. I need more time and more energy. The ring spirit replied fast. Then, it explained excitedly. The soul refining fluid is the god water used to refine the soul altar. It's marvelous indeed. It's the most precious treasure in the big star areas. This is original incipient grade water. It's so magical. Explain simply. Okay, when a warrior creates the soul altar, his soul altar is contaminated. As his power was increasing along with his understanding of power Upanishad and training of the soul altar will become more impure. In fact, the cultivation of the soul altar has the same method and principles with the cultivation of the god body. We need to discharge the impurities to maintain the crystal clear soul altar. The clearer the soul altar is, the better and deeper the warrior can understand his power Upanishad. It's a big help to the soul indeed. Soul refining fluid is a divine water that can clean your soul altar. It will help you discharge the impurities and refine the soul altar. It can make your soul altar crystal clear. The transparent soul altar that doesn't have contaminants is the basis to break through to incipient God realm. Only when you get your soul crystal clear will you see the mysteries that help you enter incipient God realm. When a warrior reaches peak of ethereal God realm, he needs to clean his soul to have a successive breakthrough. To you, the soul refining fluid is more useful. I intended to tell you to use your best to collect soul refining fluid. You need to clean your soul altar once. As you've cultivated devouring power Upanishad from my master, you can quench your soul altar many times. However, the devouring power Upanishad will always generate dregs and contaminants. Those things will contaminate your soul altar. Although you can't see or feel them, they still affect your understanding of powers Upanishad. It will make your breakthrough sluggish. More importantly, as your realm advances, you will swallow more souls. Although your soul altar will be tougher, it will have more contaminants, which will blind your inner world. When that happens, it will be very difficult for you to comprehend the powers Upanishad. When it comes to the Acme, your soul altar will break. You will fall into bedevilment. Soul refining fluid is the greatest treasure that you need the most. You can use this divine fluid to discharge the dregs or contaminants generated by the devouring power Upanishad. This way, you can keep your soul altar clean. After a period of time when you've swallowed a specific number of soul altars, you must clean your soul altar once. The ring spirit quickly explained to Shi Yin. Although it was feeble, it had made itself clear enough. Release the soul altar and immerse in soul refining fluid. Don't think about anything. You don't need to release the powers Upanishad. Clean your soul altar. It's the most important thing you must do now. If you can maintain a crystal clear soul, my memory combining speed will be faster. Go do it. Seems like I can be restored soon. The ring spirit sent its messages directly into Shi Yan's soul. It seemed hurried, urging Shi Yin to clean his soul altar and get rid of the dregs and contaminants. Shi Yin was surprised. He thought it was unbelievable. The soul altar was the basis of a warrior. It was the source of life and consciousness. He had never thought that he could cultivate it like how he quenched his body. As his energy and realm were increasing, his soul altar was likely contaminated. No warrior could maintain a crystal clear soul altar. Every time he advanced his power, and every time his power Upanishad had a breakthrough, dregs and contaminants were generated. When the devouring power Upanishad swallowed the soul altar and converted it into magical energy, it also conveyed the contaminants in the other soul altar. Gradually, Shi Yan's soul altar would have layers of pollutants, which would erode his soul and dirty his soul altar. His breakthrough speed would be stagnant. Soul refining fluid could magically solve this problem. It was also the key for peak of ethereal God realm warriors to break through to incipient God realm. Only when they had a crystal clear soul altar would they find the secret for their crucial breakthrough. After listening to the ring spirit's explanation, Shi Yin now understood why Carlos and the other two had to come here at any cost. They wanted to use soul refining fluid to clean their soul and advance to incipient God realm. Evil Dragon McGee's big eyes widened. The closer they came to the blue pool, the better he could feel the magical energy that could pacify his soul. However, McGee didn't dare to act rashly. He didn't know if that pool had something dangerous. He didn't know the conversation between Shi Yin and his ring spirit as he was focused on that pool. He was hesitant whether or not to release his soul and go in there to explore. While the dragon was still hesitant, Shi Yin and the ring spirit had finished their conversation. Shi Yin smiled and spoke to him. I think this pool can benefit our soul. All right, I'm going there to check. If nothing bad happens to me, you can go too. Then, he didn't wait for McGee to answer. Shi Yan's soul altar flew out, heading to the hazy blue pool of soul refining flood. Splash! Shi Yan's soul altar fell directly into the pool. An indescribable, marvelous feeling flooded his soul. Shi Yin felt so comfortable that he wanted to moan. Shi Yan's soul smiled until his eyes narrowed above the soul altar. He nodded to Evil Dragon McGee, indicating this place felt very good. McGee was cheered up. His huge eyes had an unclear excitement. He didn't wait for Shi Yin to signal, and he hastily released his soul. The dragon's soul looked like a chunk of turbulent air or more like a gray, light ball that fell into the misty blue pool created by soul refining fluid. The exceptionally marvelously comfortable feeling flooded into his soul, making McGee relax. He felt so good that he wanted time to stop right at this moment. Chapter 966, Blackwater Star. Chapter 966, Blackwater Star _ In the center of the blue pool, Shi Yan's soul altar and McGee's soul were floating. Wisps of deep blue fluid seeped into their souls. They could see beams of gray contaminants like gossamer being pushed out of their souls. Evil Dragon McGee had stopped being thrilled a long time ago. He stayed calm and pacified, taking in the nutrients of soul refining fluid. After the two of them sent their souls into the blue pool, the pool slowly shrank. Washing the soul and cleaning dregs and impurities in the soul was magical effects of soul refining fluid. While their souls were being quenched, They felt refreshed and comfortable as if they were soaking in divine water. Each of their nerves was strangely relaxed. They didn't need to do anything. They just simply enjoyed. They didn't need to think much. Soul-refining fluid did all the magical things for them. The ash-gray beams of impurities oozed out from their souls, evaporating in the void. Shi-Yan's soul altar became transparent. It was crystal clear and sparkling like top-quality glass. It had no beam of dirt, and it looked as exquisite as a heavenly masterpiece. Shi-Yan's soul altar had many dregs and contaminants. He was taking in soul-refining fluid much faster than McGee. The monster clan didn't value soul cultivation, and McGee didn't have a complete experience in this aspect. Thus, he didn't absorb soul-refining fluid as much as Shi-Yan did. A significant proportion of the blue pool of soul-refining fluid had fiercely flooded Shi-Yan's soul altar, washing and quenching it. The divine fluid helped him discharge all impurities in his soul altar. It made his soul altar empty and fulgent. It looked like he had just formed the soul altar. It was much lighter and brighter. The empty and transparent soul altar could make the warrior more sensitive in comprehending power Upanishad. It could also advance the power Upanishad. Warriors with a soul altar would have their soul get dirty gradually as their power and realm increased. The dregs and contaminants would coat their soul and mind. Gradually, this kind of impurity could drive the warriors out of the right cultivating track. At that moment, their understanding of the power Upanishad would be slowed down. Especially in Shi-Yan's case. He had swallowed so many soul altars. Although the energy he had harvested was much more than he expected and could help his soul altar be tougher and become almost unbreakable, it brought more contaminants to his soul altar. Soul-refining fluid was much more useful to him than anybody else. It was like a gift that was particularly bestowed to warriors like him. The blue pool slowly shrank. After an unknown time, the pool full of soul-refining fluid was all absorbed. Shi-Yan had taken in 3/4, and McGee took the other quarter. However, McGee's soul was cleaned. Now he had a deeper understanding of the evil dragon tribe's power. The pool disappeared, leaving 2 floating souls, which were slowly digesting the magical energy they had just taken. They could feel their empty and peaceful soul without much thought. After a while, Shi-Yan's soul altar moved and disappeared into his god body. He opened his eyes, stretching his body. He smiled as he was satisfied. McGee's soul swayed, flying back to his 2,000 meters body. Right after that, McGee moved his body. His bones sounded like metal clanging. McGee shook his head and his tail. The huge eyes of the monster sparkled with surprise. He couldn't help but shout, "Awesome!" His eyes looked like they had turned into beautiful green jewels, which didn't have a dot of impurity. They were transparent and Shi-Yan could even see the bottom. It was the visible sign of a cleaned soul altar. McGee quieted down and sensed. He felt happy, looking at Shi-Yan. He talked seriously, "Bro, I don't know how to thank you enough. Without you, I could have died. You've rescued me twice. You brought me here to refine my soul." Shi-Yan smiled, talking deliberately. "I may need your help later. If I come to you and ask for your help one day, I hope you won't deny me." McGee nodded continually and cheerfully. "Bro, you can find me for help at any time. It's my honor. As long as McGee can do it, I will never deny it from you." After pausing for a while, McGee added, "You know, our monster clan values friendly sentiments. We won't just have things done carelessly. If you need me, please don't hesitate." "Sure." Shi-Yan nodded strongly. Both Shi-Yan and McGee had taken advantage of soul-refining fluid in ways that they couldn't describe. Their clear souls made them more sensitive to power Upanishad. Their souls seemed to have upgraded to another level. While Shi-Yan was checking his condition, he found that his sea of consciousness didn't change much. However, it was calm and peaceful. Each flow of his soul consciousness had connected to his soul. They became his extended limbs. He had never experienced this kind of connection before. In the tier of power Upanishad, the star, death and life, and space powers seemed to have some subtle changes. Although they opened to different directions, they seemed to become a body and a part of his soul. Shi-Yan could sense the feeble modifications of his powers Upanishad. McGee screamed in surprise. He turned around, his face skeptical. Look! Shi Yin turned around, his face baffled. The outer layer of the blue bubble had become a murky, gray area. There was no crazy electric discharge anymore. Fine space slits appeared in the outer layer of the bubble. They could see the real world out there through the slits. It is collapsing. Taking a deep breath, Shi Yin closed his eyes to sense. He knew that this space crack was changing silently. The space slits appeared, leading to the real world. There. McGee's eyes brightened as he stormed over a space slit. Lights sparkled in his eyes as he said, "It looks familiar. It must be Blackwater Star. It's not far from our evil dragon tribe's territory." Shi Yin followed McGee's line of sight. A narrow space slit slowly expanded. They could see a seething black sea through the slit. This seawater was rare, indeed. Scattered here, and there were some small islands, which looked like tiny boats floating in the sea. This black sea was shoreless. It seemed to occupy half this life star. Shi Yin didn't see any continent. He saw just a few islands, and all of them were somehow small and ugly. The ocean covers Blackwater Star entirely. Anyway, it's the hustle and bustle of the undersea. Seeing Shi Yin watching, McGee explained immediately, "Bro, can you take me to Blackwater Star? I heard you cultivate space power Upanishad, right?" McGee was uncertain, looking at Shi Yin with hope. He didn't know Shi Yin's real attainment on space power Upanishad. If Shi Yin looked hesitant, it meant that Shi Yin didn't have a profound understanding of space power. McGee would feel very worried then. Moving through the space slit was a dangerous operation. If they were careless for just a moment, their souls would perish. If Shi Yin wasn't sure, McGee wouldn't take this risk. "Blackwater Star," Shi Yin mumbled. He frowned and then said, "It isn't far from Devil Blood Star, is it?" Devil Blood Star was the Blood Devil's headquarters. Before Wu Lan left, she told him that if he could escape, he must go to Devil Blood Star. As long as he could get there, no expert of the Far West region would dare to trouble him anymore. It's true. Blackwater Star and Devil Blood Star aren't far from each other. Also, it's pretty close to our Monster Dragon Star. McGee nodded continually. "All right, then we'll go there," Shi Yin chuckled. He looked at the enlarging space slit, urging his powers. Beams of space energy were like gossamers in his body that shot toward the space slits like sharp, pointy knives. A brilliant light passage created by his space energy appeared. It looked like a door leading directly to Blackwater Star, where there was an immense black ocean. Evil Dragon McGee was shaken, speaking happily. "Bro, can we get there?" Shi Yin smiled. "I'm going first. You just need to follow me." Then, he stormed towards the magnificently radiant passage. His god body was entangled with many beams of vivid light. However, the chaotic space currents didn't attack him anymore. McGee's eyes brightened. He didn't wait until Shi Yin disappeared completely and hurried to follow after him. One human and one dragon moved through the light passage. They gradually disappeared from this magical, chaotic space basin, leaving no trace. Not long after they left, the magical deep blue world shattered. It became a ruin in the space basin. Streamers shot out like fires or a crazy meteor shower. Above the immensely vast black ocean of Blackwater Star appeared a space slit. Two figures were flung out of the slits, violently falling into the water. The space slit disappeared little by little, as if streamers were mending it. Eventually, the void was resumed. Shi Yin and McGee floated in the icy cold seawater, facing the sky. It was a starry sky with several suns and moons arranged above the star, beaming strange but splendid lights that illuminated this world. The black seawater was also shining. It looked like shattered light that lit up this whole world. "Ha ha ha, I've survived." Evil Dragon McGee looked at the familiar environment. His massive dragon body was continually wiggling in the sea and rising waves. He looked like a water monster which was trying to swagger, messing up everything. Suddenly, some figures started to emerge from the Black Sea. They were warriors of the Sea Clan, holding sharp weapons. They were angry as they wanted to send punitive forces against the ones who were wreaking havoc here. However, After they found that it was evil dragon McGee, they discolored and said nothing. They then sank down, getting back to the seabed. It seemed like they knew how intimidating the evil dragon tribe was, so they didn't dare to cause any grudge against McGee. McGee didn't mind them. He moved and stretched his body in the water to vent out his excitement. He had stirred the sea area around him so much that it was like there was a disaster. Blackwater Star also had dwellers. However, as they knew McGee was strong, none of them dared to bother him. After rolling around for a while, McGee calmed down. He felt bored all of a sudden. His massive body transformed into his human form, becoming a brawny man. He laughed cheerily. Bro, have you ever been to Blackwater Star? Shi Yin shook his head. Go. I'm taking you to a nice place. We're going to throw a welcome party for you. McGee laughed crazily, moving through the water impetuously. He seemed to be very familiar with Blackwater Star. He knew where to go. After he had turned into a humanoid form, he was still domineeringly wild, charging around violently. Shi Yin felt funny, shaking his head begrudgingly and following him. Chapter 967. Evil Dragon's Natural Instincts. Chapter 967. Evil Dragon's Natural Instincts _ Evil Dragon McGee seemed to be the distinguished guest of Blackwater Star. He knew this place well. He was charging around violently, didn't mind the others. He had bumped into warriors of different races along the way, but none of them dared to stop him. Evil Dragon Tribe had a strong force with a high reputation around this place. McGee was the youngest son of the Evil Dragon Tribe's patriarch. He was usually stubborn and domineering. He belonged to a small group of people on the top of the pyramid. However, the target McGee was looking for seemed to be very far away. They had run for a long time but hadn't reached the place yet. Shi Yin became impatient. They had gone through a lot of struggles to get out of that space crack. Shi Yin had an urge to use the child formation of the mother and child sky linking formation to connect to the giant tribe, Phelan and Leona. He wanted to know what was happening to them lately. Dozens of years were perpetual to the warriors who could live for several thousands of years. It was just a blink of an eye. However, it was like an endless amount of time to Shi Yin. A couple dozens of years were enough for the giant tribe to undergo tremendous changes. He didn't know if his fellows could get over that challenge safely. He felt very worried and hurried. Thus, he halted, frowning and talking to McGee. I want to find a rest stop. I need to do something. McGee also stopped, turning his head to look at Shi Yin and smiling. Don't rush. We're almost there. We'll get there in 2 hours max. It's a small island, but it's the center of Blackwater Star, which is the most bustling area. Frowning, Shi Yin nodded. After 2 hours, they saw an island in the middle of the shoreless black ocean. The ground of this island was as black and tough as iron. However, this place still had some bizarre florists and members of different races working on it. Most of them belonged to the Monster Clan, Sea Clan, Human Clan, and Demon Clan. It looked like they came here to trade for materials. This island was called Blackstone Island. It had many buildings, which looked more like grand palaces. Those buildings were really tall. Their heights could be dozens or hundreds of meters. Shi Yin could see many people from different races, including the Sea Clan, Monster Clan, Demon Clan, Human Clan, and some other clans move around in Blackstone Island. Strange battleships anchored in the sea area by Blackstone Island. They looked like ancient beasts lying underwater. All looked huge and ferocious. People were transporting brilliant and colorful cultivating materials from the battleships to the buildings in this small island. Blackwater Star is the territory of the Sea Clan. This life star doesn't have land, but there is an immensely vast ocean. Anyway, there are many marvelous cultivating materials undersea, which can't be found in any other stars. The Sea Clan exploits those materials and trades with other warriors in the surrounding life stars. McGee smiled and explained. Blackstone Island is the market. You can enjoy many things here. We can find a lot of beauties in different clans. You've saved me twice. I'll make you more comfortable here. McGee laughed, heading to the most luxurious palaces in the center of Blackstone Island. Shi Yin was surprised, smiling bitterly inwardly. He hesitated but still followed McGee. When they walked to a palace, a Sea Clan guard shouted all of a sudden, his eyes brightening. "Young Master McGee, is that you?" McGee laughed as if he had cracked and was going crazy. "Give me the most luxurious and expensive place for me. I want to treat my distinguished guest. Let the girls in. I want the best for my bro. Young Master McGee, your father has been looking for you. Haven't you? Gone missing?" The guard looked at him, trying to find his words. McGee was baffled for a while, scratching his head and mumbling, "Oh, I forgot this. Right, it's been dozens of years since he's seen me. He should be worried." However, he forgot this shortly after, speaking deliberately. "I'm heading back to Monster Dragonstar soon. You shouldn't mind my business. Get me the room." The guard smiled happily and nodded his head continually while leading the way. This place was a palace made of glistening, five-colored stone. It was lit up by the suns, moons, and stars everywhere in the sky. The splendid lights made this place stunningly luxurious. The palace was divided into many blocks, and the best places were behind the palace with different villas. Each villa had a hot pond, which was directed from the hot spring. The water's temperature here was warm and comfortable year-round. With many precious stones and mineral substances, it had a magical effect on the warriors when they cultivated here. Each of the villas was built with different and rare materials. They looked luxurious and elegant. They had miniatures of mountains, streams, and bridges. The walls of these villas had formations that could gather earth and heaven energy. McGee took Yin directly to a villa behind the palace. After he found a seat, he called loudly for good food and liquors. Shortly after, beautiful women in opulent clothes arrived beaming. Their exquisite, jade-like hands were holding trays of fruits and wine, their eyes twinkling. Yin could see mere people of the Sea Clan, fox race women of the Monster Clan, charming race women of the Demon Clan in this group. Those clans were famous for their significant number of beautiful and charming ladies. Those ladies wore flimsy, silky clothes, flashing their snow-white skin. They giggled, leaning on McGee and massaging his shoulders and his legs. Their delicate, charming faces looked servile as they were trying to win his favor. McGee had a constant smile on his face. After those women came, his hands were too busy lingering on their ample bosoms and rear ends. His eyes were lustful, and he laughed constantly. Some beautiful ladies of the charming race and the fox race around 20 years old approached Yin. They looked vivid and fresh like newly grown flowers. Yin frowned discreetly, glancing at McGee and his lecherous behavior. He thought that the evil dragon tribe lived up to their lustful infamy. Besides their tremendous combat competence, they were also infamous for their licentious behaviors in the entire Agate Star area. McGee's bearings were the natural instincts of the evil dragon tribe. Staying in Agate Star area for a long time, Yin knew that this high-level, vast star area had many races which didn't originate from Grace Mainland. He knew there were Evil Dragon Tribe, Ice Clan, Wood Clan, Fire Clan, and other bizarre clans. Agate Star area had Human Clan, Demon Clan, and Sea Clan. He understood that the 10 ancient clans of Grace Mainland didn't exist only in Grace Mainland. Outer space was infinite indeed. With countless star areas, there were as many life stars as grains of sand. Different races originated and derived into different shapes. Perhaps the 10 ancient clans of Grace Mainland appeared for a long time in other star areas. Also, it was possible that the 10 ancient clans in Grace Mainland had come from other star areas through some space channels or some magical inheritances. In short, Grace Mainland wasn't the central star area. Although it was an ancient continent, it wasn't unique. Agate Star area had more than 100 races, including the known 10 ancient races. Moreover, they weren't from Grace Mainland. Of course, there should be some clans that had departed from Grace Mainland and settled down in Agate Star area like the giant tribe. However, those clans from Grace Mainland weren't critical forces of Agate Star area. They were even weaker. McGee and the famous beauties of the pagan tribes were still drinking and teasing each other. They wanted Yin to enjoy this time with them. Yin's smile was reluctant and faint. As he was worried, he couldn't be in a good mood. McGee could see that he was down. He was bewildered for a while, and he pushed the fox girl in his lap away with a frown. Bro, what makes you down? If McGee can help, I won't refuse. You can be honest with me. Sure Yin smiled, finished half of his glass in just one gulp. I'm from the far west region. I have many friends. I don't know where they are now. I'm worried a lot. McGee was baffled. He contemplated for a while and then waved his hand, dismissing the ladies. Get out now. The beauties had gone, leaving only McGee and Sure Yin in the spacious villa. How may I help you? McGee said seriously when there were only the two of them in the room. As long as I'm capable, I will definitely help you. You tell me. How can I help you? Is it safe here? Will we be disturbed? Sure Yin was hesitant. He released his soul consciousness skeptically. His eyes brightened. It can prevent soul detecting? He looked at the walls as he found that he couldn't get through the barriers unless he used his space power Upanishad. Sure Yin suddenly realized that this place wasn't just simply a luxury tavern. The one who had designed this palace should have some background or attainment. Don't worry. No one can disturb us here. I know the owner of this place. Members of the Sea Dragon tribe of the Sea Clan built this place. You can tell me anything here, McGee nodded. Sure Yin smiled. He got up, walking to the center of this grand villa. The fantasy sky ring flashed, and the child formation of the mother and child sky linking formation emerged beautifully like a precious lotus throne. It descended to the ground. Divine crystals were immediately inlaid neatly on the formation. All of a sudden, the child formation glowed. Space energy diffused shortly after. McGee was astounded, hissing, Bro, you're not ordinary at all. This kind of linking formation is priceless. Sure Yin nodded. His face became stern. He extended his left hand, shaking. He didn't dare to create the connection. He didn't know whether the mother formation in the old orchid star was taken or not. It has been dozens of years. He didn't know if the giant tribe, Phelan, Leona, and the others were able to escape. He was scared. He was scared that he would get nothing after he connected the formation. He was afraid that he would see something he didn't want to see. Bro, why you are hesitant? McGee was curious. Sure Yin sighed inwardly. His face became resolute. Beams of space light meandered, shooting out from his palm and congregating at the child formation. Fierce space energy fluctuated from the child formation. The imposing villa was shaken as if it couldn't endure it. Thump, thump, thump. All of a sudden, the metal doors of the villa pounded. A voice that could soften people's bones arose. McGee, come out here. Your sister is here to see you. McGee retracted his neck. He slightly discolored. He shouted hastily, Don't. I'm taking a shower. It's all right. I like watching you shower the most. Boom. The massive doors broke. In the radiant light, a slim body stormed in. Chapter 968, Guimo. Chapter 968, Guimo_. McGee discolored. Looking at Sure Yin releasing space power to connect the formation, McGee had a gleam of irritation in his eyes. Frowning, Sure Yin stopped his operation, flew out of the child formation, and steadied himself inside the grand villa. He coldly looked at the one who had just arrived. It was a petite woman who didn't look like she was more than 18 years old. She had 2 dragon horns on her head. She wore a suit of black armor, which lingered on her healthy bronze skin. Her ruby eyes were sparkling beautifully. The little girl had a soft and cute voice. She spoke tender words. However, she was full of energy, which wasn't less than McGee. Ah! The girl let out a low cry. Looking at the child formation in the hall, her ruby eyes glowed. She laughed cheerfully, looking at McGee. Why did you bring a space teleport formation here? Hee. McGee, you've disappeared for a couple dozens of years. What are you playing? Your father worried a lot about you. He has asked our brutal dragon tribe to keep an eye on your whereabouts. Brutal dragon tribe? Sure Yin was surprised. He couldn't help but observe the girl, feeling amazed discreetly. The monster clan in Agate Star area was a mighty clan. Although it had many branches, the 2 most powerful branches of Monster Clan were the Evil Dragon Tribe and the Brutal Dragon Tribe. They were the pillars of the Monster Clan. The brutal dragon tribe was another tribe of the monster clan which was famous for its mighty power. The brutal dragon tribe had a good relationship with the evil dragon tribe. They were sustainable allies who moved and retreated together. When the monster clan had any issue, these two tribes would join hands and solve the problem. The petite girl had utterly transformed, but the tremendous blood chi from her body was significant enough for Shi Yin to recognize her identity. Warriors of different races found it hard to reach the toughness level of their bodies. At the same time, only the monster clan considered body cultivating as their main path of martial art, and only the strong branches of monster clan could reach such a level. Guillermo, why are you in Blackwater Star? McGee snorted, pouting his lips. And don't be all sisterly to me. I don't have such a rude, unreasonable, and mindless sister like you. Spit it out. What problem have you caused this time? Problem? Guillermo laughed cheerily. What problems would I have? I'm worried about you. I want to see how you are doing. So why don't you welcome me? I won't. McGee looked like he had a headache. If you don't have any business here, don't disturb me. It was so hard for me to get back. I want to relax a bit here. Then, McGee waved his hand as if he couldn't stand her anymore. He signaled Guillermo to go away. Guillermo of the brutal dragon tribe still had a smile on her face as she assessed Shi Yin. She spoke to him tenderly. Little brother, how do you relate to McGee? I just wanted to warn you as soon as possible. McGee is a spoiled kid. You won't have anything good happen if you stay with him. You'd better draw a clear line with him soon. Shi Yin frowned, his face cold and stern. He didn't respond to the girl. Guillermo snorted. She wasn't pleased with Shi Yin's manners. She turned around and rolled her eyes at McGee. Suddenly, she looked reluctant, her voice more tender. McGee, I want to discuss something with you. Later, McGee was bewildered. Afterward, he spoke up. Wait until my bro I and here finish our business. Then, I will talk to you. But I want to make myself clear first. Don't you dare use me as your shield or ask me to be your partner in crime ever again. Shi Yin was amazed. From McGee's attitude, Shi Yin could tell that his relationship with this brutal dragon girl wasn't shallow. It seemed like she used to use him before. He was pissed off. However, due to the good relationship between the evil dragon tribe and the brutal dragon tribe, he previously got along well with Guillermo. That was why he was a bit moody now. Don't. I like a man. He's arrogant. But my father favors him a lot. He doesn't even mind me. Guillermo let herself loose easily. She didn't even mind Shi Yin's presence. She talked tenderly. I don't know what he likes. He's very quiet. I don't know what he thinks. I think you guys are all men, so it would be easier for you guys to connect. Can you help me make him open up a little bit to see what he likes? McGee was astounded. He looked at Guillermo disbelievingly and stammered, You're joking, right? I have never seen your face like this before. Do you really like him? Impossible. The savage little girl of the brutal dragon tribe, like someone? You never favored any man. Is he from Monster Clan too? Yeah, he's one of us. Anyway, he isn't from Agate Star area. He came to our star area 10 years ago. Now, he's a fighter of our brutal dragon tribe. My father said that he has endless potential and that he would become the new star of our monster clan. Guillermo was a little shy. He's very cold and harsh. In the past 10 years, he has fought everywhere for our brutal dragon tribe. He has earned our respect. Lately, my father had a bizarre idea. He wants to give him a life star. Wow, impossible. McGee became interested. Your father has sharp eyes, and he has high expectations too. A foreigner can earn his appreciation that much? Is he really that excellent? Yeah, Guillermo nodded. She hesitated for a while before continuing. I think he's a hybrid. He has the blood of the Dark Clan, though. His power is strange and wicked. He is definitely a member of Monster Clan, but we've never seen his branch in Agate Star area before. He's called Ghost Hunter. Shi Yin was struck. He heard only buzzing sounds in his head, and he didn't know what Guillermo and McGee were talking about. Ghost Hunter. It was Ghost Hunter. When he left Grace Mainland that year, Ghost Hunter, Holy Spirit God, devouring gold silkworm, king of demonic insects, had gone to gather the Monster Clan's inheritance. After that, Shi Yin lost his connection with them. After he had returned, he had found them bitterly in Grace Mainland. He could only see the inheritance altar on that mountain range and his beasts. It has been so many years. How could Shi Yin stay calm hearing news of Ghost Hunter in Agate Star area? Actually, Ghost Hunter was the first mount he had tamed. His great-grandfather had brought him from the demon area. Ghost Hunter had a unique origin. He was the hybrid of Heaven Ghost of Underworld and Hunter Dragon of the demon area, which was the strongest and most bizarre dark monster and demon beast of the Underworld and demon area in Grace Mainland respectively. From the day he followed Shi Yin always felt that he was an extremely fearful creature. Shi Yin could never imagine that he could find Ghost Hunter's whereabouts in Agate Star area. They had been apart for so long. Ghost Hunter. Why did he work for Brutal Dragon Clan of Agate Star area? What happened to them in Heavenly Demon Mountain Range? Where had he been before he came to Agate Star area? What happened to him? Shi Yin was perplexed, staying put. He was immersed in shock. He didn't say anything for a long time. McGee was still talking to Guillermo. Guillermo was explaining and telling him how Ghost Hunter of the Brutal Dragon Tribe had won in many battles. He is pretty fierce. Ever since he arrived, he has always been engaging in combat. He's bloodthirsty and brutal. He's more brutal and savage than our Brutal Dragon Tribe. My father favors him a lot. He has joined many fights for our tribe. His achievements pile up day by day, which is a threat to our clansmen. At this moment, he's about to break through to level 12. I think it won't take too long. About to reach level 12? Which means he's at the peak of level 11. Nah, not much different from the other warriors at peak of original God realm. Guillermo, you're at level 12. Why do you need to please him? McGee was surprised. I couldn't defeat him. Guillermo smiled embarrassedly. I didn't feel right when my father favored him more than me. I fought him once when no one noticed. He beat me up. He almost killed me. At that moment, I found his charisma. Only this sort of man would be able to match me. Holy moly. McGee was astounded. He's one level lower than you, and he almost killed you? Guillermo, have you not made any progress these years? You think you're strong? Guillermo sneered. Even if it were you, you would be defeated. If he wasn't so outstanding, how can I yearn for him that much? Our monster clan isn't similar to other races. Not many tribes can do this kind of different level combat, especially since he defeated me. Among tribes of Monster Clan, our two tribes are the strongest. If he can defeat me, a Brutal Dragon member, he can beat you up too. He can even kill you. Guillermo spoke resolutely as if it the absolute truth. Apparently, McGee didn't buy it. He sneered, shaking his head. He's from a small, unknown tribe. You think he can defeat me? What kind of joke is that? I think that since you like him, you didn't use your full power. That was how he defeated you. Oh, women, you will do everything your heart tells you to do. Bring it on. Guillermo was enraged. She smiled coldly. He's in Blackstone Island. Do you need to test him? If you can defeat him, I'm sure I won't trouble you anymore. And I will cover your ass for those dirty things you've done. Are you sure? Sure. Deal. McGee was boosted. He rubbed his hands, grinning. Since you have my tail, you often threaten me that you will report me. I'm so irritated. Well, I can teach your loved one a lesson. You will see how strong I am. Later on, you won't babble and tag along anymore. McGee shot up. He was excited about having a fight. However, he seemed to recall something, turning to Shi Yin embarrassedly. Bro, you stay here. I'll get back to you soon. Don't worry. No one will disturb you here. I will tell them and take care of you. Guillermo of the Brutal Dragon Tribe didn't mind Shi Yin. She just glanced at him and then turned around. In Guillermo's eyes, Shi Yin was just a warrior at second sky of original God realm. Evidently, he wasn't worth mentioning. As one of the strongest branches of the Monster Clan in Agate Star area, the Brutal Dragon Tribe was famous. They had keen eyesight. I'm going with you. As McGee and Guillermo were still baffled, Shi Yin put the child formation back into his fantasy sky ring. He followed them quietly, speaking deliberately. I also want to widen my knowledge. Hey boy, remember to stay far away from them. The man I like is very strong. He won't care about killing you. As you are McGee's friend, I'm kind enough to remind you. You shouldn't court yourself death. Guillermo frowned, kindly giving him advice. Yin nodded nonchalantly. McGee, your friend's realm isn't high. How did you meet him? Guillermo didn't care about Yan's feelings, speaking to McGee casually. You should be careful. Don't infuriate him. Otherwise, even I won't be able to stop him. He doesn't listen to me. He doesn't listen to anybody. Sometimes, he even goes against my father's orders. This man is very haughty, but I really like him. Guillermo was infatuated with the man, as if she had been sinking deep into the sea of affection that she couldn't control. Chapter 969. Ghost Hunter at this moment. Chapter 969. Ghost Hunter at this moment, _ A slender, flying bird battleship anchored on the black stone south of Blackstone Island. This battleship was more than 2,000 meters long. It looked like a bird that had spread its wings and was flying. This battleship was sleek and slender with a small head, small tail, and broad wings. It was made of some snow-white, jade-like bone. A beautiful halo was moving along the battleship as if it had magical water murmuring. Experts of the monster clan in their human forms were sitting neatly on that battleship. They looked strange and eccentric indeed. Some had long heads and long horns while others had long tails and thick fangs. Although they had humanoid forms, they still kept the best prominent feature of their races. All looked brutal and mighty. A young man wearing black-gray garments sat on the top of the battleship. He was indifferent and cold like a rock. His black-gray long robe was filled with bizarre embroideries, which looked more like wiggling worms. His long hair flew with the wind, giving him a peculiarly wicked look with a bunch of snakes on his head. The outlines on his face looked like they were carved right out of marble with distinctive edges and corners. His pupils were terrifyingly red. Several hundred monster warriors lined up behind him. They were looking at their leader with great respect and admiration which came from the bottom of their hearts. In Monster Clan, the brutal dragon had many outstanding and robust young men. However, those vigorous and wild men were all followed this young one. The young man sat quietly. His eyes looked straight ahead without a real focus. He seemed to be absorbed in his thoughts. The others didn't know what was in his head. That's him. Guillermo halted, pointing at the man in the distance from the forest. Her beautiful eyes bright as she muttered, "What do you think? Manly and cool enough, right?" McGee frowned and snorted, "Haughty. You should gather your guts and fight him." Guillermo smiled tenderly and relaxingly. "We don't need a reason to fight between the members of Monster Clan. It's like discussing martial arts. You can go now." "I do want to see what he's got." McGee laughed evilly. His body shot out of the forest like a sharp sword. An explosive blow came from his arms. Giant trees exploded. Pieces of wood and rock shattered everywhere as they couldn't stand the shockwave of his movement. A deep ditch appeared underneath McGee while he was flying. It looked like a massive weapon had plowed this terrifying ditch. Yin halted quietly. He was very surprised when he looked at his face, which was somehow both similar and strange to him. He had a complex mood and he didn't know what to say. After dozens of years apart, his old partner was now a mighty fighter of the Monster Clan. He had accumulated tremendous powers in his body, which helped him grind the entire Blackstone Island into powder easily. From his competence, Yin could tell that he could be compared to peak of original God Realm warriors. He also had the ability to challenge level 12 monster experts. This meant Ghost Hunter wouldn't be in a disadvantaged situation if he fought Yin. It was just a couple dozens of years. Ghost Hunter's progress wasn't less than his. He didn't know what difficulties Ghost Hunter had experienced or the number of bloody battles he had undergone to reach his current intimidating level. Yin's pupils shrank as he observed the monster experts lining behind Ghost Monster. He didn't skip any one of them. However, he was dispirited as he found that none of them were familiar except for Ghost Hunter. King of demonic insects, devouring gold silkworm, and Holy Spirit God weren't with Ghost Hunter. Yin's mood sank. He felt a little worried. Ghost Hunter sat silently on the bird-like battleship. A gleam of brutal deeds flashed in his eyes as he saw McGee coming fiercely. He stood up. Fierce and imposing energy shot out from an arm that looked like it was molded out of iron and steel. It felt like many volcanoes erupting at the same time. This kind of blood chi and energy was unimaginable. Boom! His strike seemed to be able to crush the sky. Explosions reverberated around Blackstone Island. The small island was shaken grumblingly. His punch seemed to seal the whole world. His fist enlarged continually like a steel mountain, which burst off the air by its formidable pressure. With the earth-shattering momentum, his strike dimmed the light from the suns and moons. In Shi Yan's and Gumo's eyes, the world seemed to not exist anymore. They could see only that punch, which had torn space and was filling each corner of this island and each sea of consciousness while sending pains to other warriors. Shi Yan's soul altar shook. He felt frightened. He could never have imagined such power from Ghost Hunter. His body sealed this space with a changing power. Within his punch, he had tens of thousands of energy threads combining. Eventually, he would urge his power to the acme. This was the brutal force that only warriors with exquisite attainment in their body's energy could release. Shi Yan thought that he couldn't urge his body's energy to this mighty level. Explode! Tens of thousands of light beams shot out, running like dragons or snakes in the air. They forcefully stopped McGee on his way. This punch was covered with entangling light beams. It looked like a light ball, exploding directly in front of McGee's chest. In this earth-shattering commotion, McGee's body sank and then fell to the ground. Crack, crack, crack. A massive cave running several thousand meters deep into the ground opened the moment McGee landed. It led deep under this small island. The entire black stone island was shaking as if a great earthquake was shaking it violently. Many iron or stone buildings shook as if they were about to collapse. Many warriors of different clans screamed in fear. They immediately got out of where they were and headed to this area to see what was going on. Standing on the battleship, Ghost Hunter wore a cold and harsh countenance. He had a savage aura. His distinctive facial edges were icy cold, which made him like an ice-sharp sword drawn out of its scabbard. He hadn't moved yet. Only his hand buzzed as the bones, flesh, and vessels inside made noise. It was the sign of energy urged to the utmost. McGee fell into the massive cave. Water splashed in that cave from time to time. It seemed like the black stone island had been drilled. McGee hadn't reacted. He looked like he was dizzy after that strike. He didn't fly out from that cave under the Black Sea. Staying in the dim-lit cave, McGee lifted his face to look at Ghost Hunter, his face baffled. Guillemot balled her soft and small hands. Her beautiful eyes were cheerful and vivid with different brilliant colors. She eyed Ghost Hunter, giggling and screaming excitedly. How about that? More domineering than McGee? Shi Yan nodded unconsciously. You should stay far away from them. McGee will be enraged shortly. He won't control himself when he battles. If they move their battle site to your place, I'm sure you won't be able to resist the shockwave with your realm. As Guillemot saw him agree with her idea, she kindly reminded him. Although you have the soul altar, without power from your soul altar, your feeble body won't be able to stand the shockwave of such potent forces. Since you have a good relationship with McGee, I advise you to leave this place early. You are different from me, so you don't have the mighty power of our tribe. Shi Yan frowned and cocked his head to look at her, talking deliberately. It's okay. I want to observe. The reason why Shi Yan had come here but hadn't met Ghost Hunter yet was that he wanted to see to which level Ghost Hunter had achieved at this moment. Of course, he wouldn't retreat before learning this. Guillemot's beautiful eyes had a gleam of disdain. She snorted, talking impatiently. Forget it. I'll protect you. I don't want McGee to blame me for lacking a code of brotherhood. Shi Yan chuckled, but he didn't say anything else. Many warriors of the clans on Black Stone Island gathered. They consisted of Monster Clan, Demon Clan, Sea Clan, and Human Clan. They came with varying means. Some rode beautiful war chariots or flying carriages. Some just flew over, floating in the air. They were young and old, and men and women. There were senile warriors as well as excited and elegant ladies. Ghost Hunter of the brutal dragon tribe. Whom is he fighting? Ghost Hunter is quite the character. 13 years ago, he emerged in this place. He'd killed so many members of the monster clan. He used their blood to strengthen himself. His deeds are brutal and domineering. The brutal dragon tribe had sent several troops to clean him up. They had sacrificed a lot but got nothing. In the end, the patriarch of the brutal dragon tribe came to talk to him. We don't know what they spoke about, but afterward, he became a member of the brutal dragon tribe. He has battled everywhere for the brutal dragon tribe. Yeah, I heard that he's not from the monster clan in Agatstar area. He's a hybrid, very cruel and dangerous. The brutal dragon tribe's fortune got better since they got such a savage subordinate like that. I heard the patriarch of the tribe wanted to recruit him. He said that this young man would become one of the leaders of the monster clan in the future. He's blinding me. Members of different clans gathering here all lived in the nearby life stars. Listening to Ghost Hunter's legends, they acclaimed continually. In their eyes, Ghost Hunter, the new star, was an unpredictable character with endless potential. He'd become the sharpest and bloodiest sword of the brutal dragon clan. His name was enough to scare the brutal dragon tribe's enemies out of their wits. When they arrived, McGee had been struck into the cave, so they didn't see who Ghost Hunter's opponent was. They didn't know that it was McGee, the bad McGee of the evil dragon tribe. Splash, splash. A backwater current shot up into the sky from the cave. This current looked like a giant black dragon, circling Black Stone Island. All of a sudden, it stormed toward Ghost Hunter. McGee slowly emerged in the center of the black current. His face was dark and calm like the water. He looked stiff and focused as if he had to have this dangerous combat against Ghost Hunter. McGee. It's Evil Dragon McGee. It's McGee. It's the haughty McGee of the Evil Dragon clan. A fierce battle to be expected. The onlookers recognized McGee. They felt excitedly hyped. They knew that they could expect a fantastic battle. They were all stirred up. McGee looked serious. Guillemot also became stern. Her beautiful eyes gazed at the battle, mumbling, "Finally, I have a chance to know your real competence. McGee, you're stronger than me. I'm so thrilled. I wonder if you could defeat him." Shi Yin was surprised, glancing at Guillemot and contemplating. The monster clan appreciated the strong. Monster females had always linked competence together with masculine attractions. From her bearings, Guillemot seemed to have a real feeling for Ghost Hunter and no other intentions. Chapter 970. Shi Yan's Guarantee. Chapter 970. Shi Yan's Guarantee _ Giant McGee burst out of the cave. His body was hidden in the center of the black water dragon. He moved like a rainbow with the powers of 1,000 men pressing down maliciously on Ghost Hunter. Rattle, rattle. The black dragon was still moving in the air. The dense steam shrank, condensing earth and heaven energy around into one flow. Earth and heaven energy of Black Stone Island seemed to all be drawn. The other warriors felt their souls trembling hard. They had a hallucination of their soul altars and consciousness sinking deep into an unknown tornado. Some couldn't even control their bodies, moving toward the black water dragon. To the warriors who cultivated physical strength, when they had reached a specific level, they could easily gather earth and heaven energy and accumulate in their bodies. McGee was a member of the evil dragon tribe. He had always cultivated his body. At this moment, his understanding and controlling of surrounding energy had reached an exquisite and profound level. Ghost Hunter stayed cold, looking at McGee taking in all the energy of Black Stone Island. He frowned. He finally became serious. McGee was definitely a strong opponent with whom he could have a good fight. He didn't know McGee or the reason why McGee suddenly wanted to battle him, and he didn't have any interest to do that. However, today Ghost Hunter had become a captain of a troop of brutal dragon tribe. He had several hundred bloodthirsty monster experts under his command. They only listened to his orders and submitted to him wholeheartedly. Ghost Hunter got such support because he was always in the vanguard of each battle. He had never retreated and seemed to have no fear of any force. Even if he had to confront a warrior whose realm was higher than his, he would still have the guts to fight the other directly. He would never lose his face in front of his troopers. Thus, Ghost Hunter wasn't hesitant at all. His face darkened as if he was actually enraged. Roar! A low but sharp roar tore the sky. Ghost Hunter soared up into the sky from his battleship. He was like a sharp weapon that could pierce through everything, shooting towards the giant black dragon. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The earth-shattering explosions reverberated in each corner of Blackstone Island. Low-realm warriors shivered, their souls trembling uneasily. The energy of the shockwave was dazzling, shooting and exploding everywhere from the sky. Each strike of the shockwaves left a bottomless hole on the ground of Blackstone Island. Those shockwaves even boiled the seawater, sending black water arrows up into the sky. Blackstone Island was poorly damaged quickly. Thousands of holes were created. Many ancient trees were struck down. Rocks were smashed. There were even 1,000-meter deep ditches drawn on the island. The onlookers were frightened. They couldn't help but activate their power Upanishad. Then, many colored light protections appeared. Guillemot discolored. She cursed under her breath. Her eyes sparkled as she grabbed Shi-Yin. A dark green light cage made of pure energy covered Shi-Yin like a big green bowl. It sheltered him from the shockwaves of the other two's attacks. Shi-Yin was surprised, and he discreetly looked at her. It seemed like Guillemot and McGee were close. She gave McGee face by protecting Shi-Yin. This meant that Guillemot did respect McGee. She wasn't as rude as she had treated him. The dark light cage was like a rainbow partition. Flows of green energy weaved with each other, creating a thick mesh net. The energy in this net was incredibly dense. When Shi-Yin released his soul consciousness, he felt like he had sunk into a muddy puddle. He couldn't hear anything. McGee and Ghost Hunter were still bumping and attacking each other in the void. They presented Blackstone Island a fantastic firework party with tens of thousands of magnificent lights. McGee wasn't an impulsive person. While he was fighting Ghost Hunter, he intendedly left Blackstone Island, moving further to the South Sea. Shortly after, McGee and Ghost Hunter had left Blackstone Island, floating and sinking in the endless sea. They didn't turn back to their monster forms, as they were still fighting using their humanoid forms. They were like two mighty war chariots barging into each other. They made the seawater boil, raising a tsunami, which was thousands of meters high. McGee has made progress, Guillemot agreed quietly. She looked at Shi-Yin next to her. He didn't focus on his cultivation. He had a lustful head. He often messed around. I didn't expect that after dozens of years, his application of power has reached this subtle level. Hasn't he had secluding cultivation lately? Shi-Yin was amazed, but he just smiled and said nothing. Only he knew that McGee's progress wasn't because of his ascetic cultivation, but his soul being cleaned by soul-refining fluid, which had made his understanding of power much better. Well, it won't affect us anymore. Guillemot looked around and then parted her lips, drawing. The dark green light cage, covering Shi-Yin, turned into a flow of green liquid, disappearing into her cherry lips. Guillemot's eyes brightened when she suddenly flew towards the south beach of Blackstone Island. She landed firmly on a big rock. Shi-Yin hesitated for a while. Eventually, he flew up, standing by Guillemot and watching. Shortly after, the other warriors gathered from the previous battle site. They stood on the rocks scattered around the place to discuss. All were curious, watching the battle between McGee and Ghost Hunter. They were all excited, debating with each other to see who would be the winner. Some thought Ghost Hunter was stronger while others assumed McGee's power was fiercer. They had so many different opinions for their furious debate. Anyway, none of them were curious to know why McGee and Ghost Hunter had that fight. This surprised Shi-Yin a lot. The battle between the members of the monster clan doesn't need any reason to occur. You don't have any rules? Guillemot nodded, talking deliberately. Of course, our monster clan refers to fight, not only to foreigners, but also to our own kinds. The method we apply to select the commander for each troop is only fighting. The stronger is the winner. If you think you're stronger than your captain, you can challenge him. If you succeed, you will take his place immediately. Pausing for a while, Guillemot smiled tenderly yet arrogantly. When we select the chief of the tribe, we also use this method. In both the evil dragon and brutal dragon tribes, the chief is always the strongest. There's no exception. Monster Clan uses this challenging system without any rule to maintain intimidation and welfare of the tribes. That's how we earned our position in Agate Star area. Yin nodded silently. Special indeed. The Monster Clan had used a savage method, indeed. However, all the members of the clan respected this method, and they lived up to it. Unlimited challenging combat could promote their physical strength. Although the Monster Clan had many disputes, this method could keep this clan thriving unceasingly as their warriors could earn position, status, and wealth through their real competences. From some aspect, this kind of encouragement was wise, and it was the method to protect the foundation of a prosperous tribe. Young lady, a low, grumbling roar arose. They then saw a member of the Monster Clan come to them. He didn't look at Yin. He asked Guillermo directly. You stimulated McGee, didn't you? Guillermo smiled and admitted it. Yeah, I asked McGee to battle against Ghost Hunter. I wanted to see how strong Ghost Hunter was. Yin turned to see this monster expert. He was 3 meters tall with a spiky tail growing from his waist. His white hair draped his shoulder. He wore a set of heavy armor, which gave people a feeling of looking at an imposing mountain. This man was one of the warriors on the Flying Bird battleship who had sat right behind Ghost Hunter. He seemed to be a member of Ghost Hunter's squadron. Master Ghost Hunter came to Black Stone Island this time as ordered by our patriarch. He has an important mission. Young lady, you have a temper and you acted unreasonably. As Ghost Hunter and McGee are fighting, I'm afraid that it will cause a dispute. The man wore a cold face. He wasn't intimidated by Guillermo, the daughter of the patriarch of his tribe. He said in his low tone, McGee is from the evil dragon tribe and Master Hunter is our brutal dragon tribe's warlord. No matter what happens to any of them, it will cause a conflict between our tribe and the evil dragon tribe. McGee does have a sense of propriety. He won't escalate the battle to a critical point where one of them would die. Guillermo smiled, waving her hand casually. Werther, you worry too much. Nothing will happen unexpectedly. The monster expert called Werther darkened his face, snorted, and then said, McGee knows how to behave, but I'm not sure if Master Ghost Hunter does. Guillermo was surprised, looking at him bewilderedly. Werther took a deep breath. A gleam of fear flashed in his eyes, which were really big like 2 bells. His iron-armored tail wagged uneasily on the ground, which crushed the rocks there into powder. Young lady, you're not close to him, so you don't know his characteristics. If he's enraged, he won't show mercy even if McGee is the son of the evil dragon tribe's patriarch. He will kill him for sure. Really? Guillermo's smile froze. She looked panic-stricken. Werther looked at Yin with cold eyes. He lowered his voice, hissing. Our master. He used to quarrel with a troop of the evil dragon tribe because they provoked him, saying that he was crossbreed. And what was the result? Guillermo felt uneasy. The result was that Master had chased that evil dragon troop for tens of thousands of miles and killed them. When we arrived at the scene, we saw no intact corpses. All of them were ripped apart. The scene was so haunting and nauseating. Werther stooped. His body shivered as if he didn't want to remember such a nightmare. Our master is very extreme. He doesn't have good feelings for the evil dragon tribe. It's possible that he could kill McGee in front of many people. Young lady, your unreasonable deed could initiate a war between the evil dragon tribe and us. Guillermo was scared. She suddenly realized how stupid she was to create this mess. She felt so worried, jabbering. I'm going to talk to McGee, and you talk to Ghost Hunter. We should stop them. I can't dissuade Master. Werther beamed a forced smile, shaking his head. You can't, either. I came here to ask you to notify our patriarch. He must come here personally to solve this. Or else, when Master Ghost Hunter gets mad and kills McGee, the alliance that has been established tens of thousands of years between the evil dragon tribe and us will be smashed from that moment. Guillermo's small face paled. She bit her lower lip as she was worried and uneasy. She looked at the vast sea of Blackwater Star. She found that the battle of Ghost Hunter and McGee had come to the critical moment of life and death. Possibly, in the next moment, one of them would be hurt badly, and then one of them would be killed savagely. Guillermo was frightened. She knew that if the brutal dragon tribe and the evil dragon tribe tore their treaty and turned their backs to each other, what will happen to the entire monster clan? It means that the monster clan will be divided too, right? Her small, soft hand shivered as she was about to take something from her clothes. She wanted to contact her father so he could solve this matter quickly. Don't need to be hurried. However, at this moment, Yin spoke up after keeping quiet for a long time. I guarantee Ghost Hunter won't act unreasonably. Guillemot and Werther were baffled, looking at him oddly. Chapter 971. Stop there. Chapter 971. Stop there. __. Young lady, who's he? Monster Werther frowned and snorted disdainfully, his face cold, heavy words. Guillemot was baffled as she looked at Yin skeptically. Her bold brows furrowed as she didn't know what was going on. Even our chief has to use affection to persuade Master Ghost Hunter and use a soft voice. Only then will Master consider if he likes it or not. What are you? How dare you assure Master Ghost Hunter won't do things rashly? Kid, you don't want to live anymore, do you? How dare you brag with such haughty words? Werther felt so angry that his face was reddening. It looked like he would take action at any minute. He had followed Ghost Hunter for around 10 years and had wholeheartedly supported the latter. He had a strong belief that Ghost Hunter would become the future leader of Monster Clan, who would bring the clan into a whole new era. His worship didn't have a logical reason. However, in Werther's mind, Ghost Hunter was unique. He admired and respected his leader's bloody and cruel deeds. Sometimes, he thought that Ghost Hunter's bloody way was tougher and manlier than the patriarch of the brutal dragon tribe. Ghost Hunter was his god. You don't know about the situation, so don't babble. Guillemot told Yin off, talking seriously. Even if your friendship with McGee isn't shallow, you can only advise him. Ghost Hunter isn't someone you can talk into doing something. You can't, and neither can I. I think my father can subdue the Ghost Hunter a little bit. The great ally of the brutal dragon tribe and the evil dragon tribe was the pillar of the monster clan in Agate Star area. If the two tribes had a war, it would be a badly unpredictable catastrophe. Brutal dragon tribe and evil dragon tribe had many other members of the monster clan depending on them. Many smaller branches of the monster clan had submitted to the brutal dragon tribe and evil dragon tribe. If the two clans became opponents, the monster clan would be divided into two forces. If they had a civil war, Monster Clan would move towards a decline eventually. This wasn't something Guillemot could take the responsibility of. Werther was so angry he wanted to kill Yin. In his eyes, Yin was now the biggest enemy of the Monster Clan. He was the troublemaker with the purpose of dividing the Monster Clan. He even thought that Yin was the reason why McGee provoked Ghost Hunter. I don't care who you are. You must die anyway. Werther took a deep breath as he prepared his lethal attack. He wanted to kill Yin at any cost. Guillemot discolored, hurrying to stop him. Don't. It's not because of him. He's McGee's friend, and he likes him a lot. Werther, you shouldn't interfere. I'm going to tell my father. I said I can stop this. You can choose to believe me or not. Yin frowned, but he was actually happy inwardly. He had never thought that Ghost Hunter could have excellent achievements in Agate Star area. He had earned the brutal dragon tribe's trust, who considered him as their future leader. After that, he flew towards Ghost Hunter and McGee, talking without turning his face around to look at Guillemot and Werther. Ghost Hunter and I are old acquaintances. Werther and Guillemot were bewildered. They were still perplexed, looking at his back skeptically. However, they didn't know what was going on. Go. We should go there and talk to them. Guillemot hesitated for a while before deciding quickly. She flew up quickly, passing Yin and heading towards the battle site. Werther wore a cold face as a fire of anger rolled in his eyes. He soared up into the sky and glared at him maliciously when he passed Yin. Kid, if you dare deceive us, I will show you what I have got. Guillemot and Werther shot rapidly towards Ghost Hunter and McGee, who were crazily attacking and wreaking havoc. They felt restless and anxious. Many warriors from the other areas saw the three of them and were surprised, starting to discuss boisterously. Over there, the battle between McGee and Ghost Hunter had come to its climax. The two of them now used their real abilities. While they were mobilizing energy, a tremendous amount of heaven and earth energy of Black Stone Island rose like a torrential tide, pouring into the two of them. The supplied energy made the two new talents of the monster clan seem like furious, erupting volcanoes. They seemed about to destroy the whole Blackwater Star. McGee seemed to be falling into a disadvantaged situation. Ghost Hunter punched him, blowing him to the seabed. However, every time McGee soared up back from the sea, he could gather a stronger power. Their battle had come to a critical stage. It was time of life or death. "McGee, it's enough." Guillemot suddenly screamed, her beautiful face icy cold. "I told you to try a bit. I didn't tell you to risk your life. Stop here. I don't need your support anymore." "You said enough? So you think it's enough?" McGee thundered angrily. He didn't give Guillemot face, wiping the blood trickle on his mouth. "I have suffered a loss, and I want to take it back. F***CK. I'm this big, and I've never been hurt by anyone whose realm's lower than mine. If I can't make him pay a big price for that, I will feel annoyed for the rest of my life." McGee roared, storming towards Ghost Hunter again. Guillemot was so worried as if she had a flame burning her heart. Werther hovered behind her, his face begging. He didn't have the bearings like when was talking to Yin. He stooped his head while screaming, "Master, please stop. I'm begging you. McGee's the son of Evil Dragon Tribe's patriarch. If you kill him, the Evil Dragon Tribe will turn their back on us. Master, for me who has been following you for years, please do me a little favor. Please spare McGee." Ghost Hunter acted as if he didn't see or hear Werther. He didn't even give him a glance. He still gazed at McGee, striking crazily. Each blow of his was enough to smash the whole world. He made the seawater boil, shaking the entire Blackwater Star. Werther seemed to know what would happen. He sighed and screamed continually. "You mother f***cur. You're too haughty. I have just left for a few decades. When did I fall into that lowest situation? Asking him to spare my life? The one whose realm's lower than mine? I can't stand such humiliation," McGee shouted, becoming even more enraged. Both Ghost Hunter and McGee didn't listen to Werther and Guillemot. They started to attack each other again, their battle becoming fiercer. Guillemot and Werther's advice didn't work. It couldn't bring the desired result. Instead, it was more like pouring oil into a fire as the battle reached the most dangerous point. Ghost Hunter and McGee had their body covered in blood while fighting against each other. Suddenly, they all roared, returning to their monster form. The two terrifying and intimidating monsters appeared in the sea. Evil Dragon McGee was several thousand meters long, his body covered in scales. The horns on his head were sharp and shiny like metals, with beautiful lights moving around. Each scale on his body started to absorb heaven and earth energy, giving him an imposing aura that could threaten people. Ghost Hunter's real form was just several meters long. However, he had spikes and thorns all over his body. His body was covered in some kind of thick and rigid bone shells that looked like quenched metals. At first glance, people knew he had annealed his body for many times. It was obvious that his true form was also a dragon. Beams of energy murmured like small flowing streams on his body. Energy fluctuated from him immensely and earth-shakingly. It felt like his body hid many volcanoes that could erupt at any minute, giving him the intimidating and brutal energy. When the monster warriors turned back to their true form, it was a sign of a life or death battle. As McGee and Ghost Hunter had transformed, they were prepared to release their strongest attack. Boom, rumble, rumble. The two giant bodies barged into each other, entangling and wrestling. Their powerful and fierce energy impacted, sending sparks and lights everywhere. This sea area was stirred up formidably. Vortexes started to appear in the sea, and tsunamis rose high in the sky. These two warriors of the monster clan seemed ready to destroy the Blackwater Star. Their formidable auras had scared people out of their wits. The onlookers all admired and respected their power no matter what. Watching the two of them change to their monster form and attack each other wildly, Guillemot and Werther were frightened out of their wits, their hearts beating anxiously. Gumo's small face was as pale as white paper. She was so panic-stricken at this moment, hurrying to report this to her father. She hoped her father could come and advise Ghost Hunter. She also cursed McGee for not giving her face. Werther was so flurried that he didn't know what to do. Suddenly, he looked back and saw Yin sauntering as if he were taking a walk in the park. With a ferocious face, he seemed to find a place to vent out at, shouting, "You caused all of these. I'll kill you first." Guillermo hated Yin because he had stopped her from reporting to her father in the first place. Seeing Werther about to kill him, she didn't bother to interfere, as she thought that Yin deserved it. "McGee, do me a favor. Stop here." Suddenly, Yin pitched his voice and screamed before Werther attacked him. McGee and Ghost Hunter were still wrestling. Hearing Yin's voice, McGee struggled in his mind for a while before shouting, "Bro, I want to give you face, but if he doesn't want to stop here, I have no choice." Guillermo and Werther were bewildered. They were so confused. Since when had McGee become that easy to talk into things? That hot-tempered fellow was famous for his annoyance. Besides his father, he had never submitted to anyone. What scared them the most was still to follow. "Ghost Hunter, stop here," Yin said the second time. While entangling with McGee, Ghost Hunter turned around to look, perplexed. Dazzling lights shot out from his monster eyes as he gazed at Yin without blinking. He halted as if he had turned into a rock. McGee and Ghost Hunter both stopped. The atmosphere was oddly quiet, and people could only hear the two monster experts panting. Guillermo and Werther gawked, dropping their jaws. They looked at Yin, then at Ghost Hunter, who was held as if he had turned into a fossil. The bone-chilling, clear green eyes of Ghost Hunter reflected Yin's image. His eyes flashed, turning watery. The mouth with many teeth opened as he stopped panting, still looking baffled. Energy stopped impacted above the sea, as a result of which, the water slowly calmed down and the vortexes disappeared. The whole place was so quiet they could even hear the sound of a needle falling. Ghost Hunter looked at Yin like that, as an unknown, fierce affection appeared in his eyes. After a long moment, he got rid of McGee, flying anxiously to Yin. He proactively lowered his body and floated beneath Yin's feet. He slowly adjusted his body until his back touched Yin's feet. He had let Yin put his feet on his back, so he could be Yin's mount. This was the gesture of the humblest submission of the monster clan's members. The entire sea area was quiet. Onlookers from different clans in the Black Stone Island were petrified. The glass of wine fell on the ground from someone's hand, but he didn't realize it. Time seemed to have paused at this moment. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.